Control some music.
Okay, Mike's muted, please. We're live. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Talk with the Titans, live from London, UK, all the way to the US of A and worldwide. I'm your host, Kalam L, and this is Talk with the Titans. You know what? This is actually the part 2 of, oh my gosh, the craziness, the madness, the whole. I don't even know. There's no words that can actually explain what took place. We had Brother Polight on, Sarner on, Rabbi Harry Rozenberg, Zion Lexx, the Amun-Ra squad. Everybody was just going in and at it with each other. You know what? It was real insightful. We got some real insights and exclusives of what was taking place behind the scenes of the debate. I know a lot of us has had questions of where Zion Lexx has been. We've had questions about, you know what, certain people's integrity within inside of the HOK, House of Consciousness. You know what, there was so much actually addressed within inside the last show. For all of you lot who are rejoining us, I'm pretty sure we had close to 500 people, I believe, in the last show. If everybody just rejoining us, please just share the button and let everybody know that we're live right now. We're live, and we've got the Amun-Ra squad with us right now. Anka Kek, Ishmael. We've also got Team Osiris, Khufu. We've also got, you know what, the Rabbi Harry Rozenberg in with us as well. And we've also got my brother from the UK, HKTH, Terry, and also Israel Doctrine, who is with us right now, and Isa. Supporting or representing the you know, black Muslims of the UK. So, you know, we've got a whole panel filled of individuals with us right now. I believe Sarner and Polight will be rejoining us quite shortly. So we're gonna just kind of touch base on everything that has transpired. And for this show, we're gonna tone it down a little bit. We're gonna tone it down. You know what? I did a little naughtiness where I allowed you know, a lot of profanity, a lot of swearing, a lot of heatedness to take place, because I believe that, you know what, sometimes it needs to take place. Sometimes that type of activity, there's a lot of build up within the community. You know, people don't actually get the chance to actually see each other or speak to each other live on air or off air, and that was the perfect opportunity. So I allowed the steam to, you know, finally be released within inside of the community. Hopefully it doesn't go too far. So I'm going to now reintroduce everybody back in. We've got the panel members live with us. I just want everybody just to say hello to the community. Starting right on the left with Anka Kek, the real black atheist.
Hey, what's good, man? I'm a Raw Squad Up. Y'all already know what it is, man.
Excellent.
Y'all crazy. That's all I can tell you.
And then we've got Israel Doctrine.
Peace, everyone. I would just like to say I believe Sarnetta is a black cracker.
Okay, and with that, I do have to apologize. You have to be ejected for that. Now, as again, I'm saying I do not want any type of profanity. I'm trying to keep it real cool today. All right, this is the second show. We've had the heated exchange. We've had a bit of steam released. For this one, we're going to be really stern with what's going on. So we've got Rabbi Harry Rozenberg as well with us for this round. Rabbi, you there?
Yeah, I appreciate having me on. For the record, if anyone wants to know, I stressed the Kalam. I wasn't comfortable with the way people were speaking to each other last show. So don't, you know, I don't want anyone to tell me it's just when a white man speaks to someone I'm going to apologize. I think that there should be no case ever that someone, you know, raised their voice, cursed another man, etc. But I'm not a judge because I understand there's emotions here and it's serious and there's people's lives and their reputation. But if we could all just speak and our words do the talking, that would be the best.
Excellent. Thank you. And we've also got, who else we've got here? We've got Ishmael Bey with us. Peace.
Peace, your brother Kalam. How you doing this evening? And peace to Titans TV. Thank you so much for having me, brother. I'm Raw Squad Up.
It's wonderful to have you on the show. And of course, we've got Ishmael Bey coming in, I believe it's Monday the 4th of April to come and give a nice lengthy dissertation. You know what, you've got, you know what, it's going to be absolutely wonderful. This is kind of like on the eve or the precursor to the Reggie versus
Sharif Bey.
What's the other Bey's name? Sharif Bey, yeah. So that's going to be a powerful debate that's going to be taking place on the 10th of April. Please support the House of Consciousness, support your brother Reggie, support your brother Sharif Bey, and attend that debate. So That's going to be powerful. I can't wait to hear you speak, my brother. I can't wait for that. And also, we've got Team Osiris on the horizon. Kufu.
Peace, Kalam. How you doing, brother?
Peace, King, peace. And then we've got Issa. Issa's with us. Are you there, Issa?
Assalamu alaikum, family. Assalamu alaikum. We need a show, bro.
You don't want to know. What you mean, where is that? You talking about the YouTube?
Okay. And who else we've got here? We have Terry. Terry from the UK as well joining us.
Yeah, peace.
Peace.
Nice one,
Great.
Kalam.
Great stuff. You know what? I'm actually gonna, hand this over to the brother Ishmael Bey. Of course, he's coming in the 4th of April. We're gonna be promoting this hard, 4th of April, to come in and give a dissertation on that day. Can you just give us a summary of what transpired for everybody who hasn't actually viewed the previous show? And I'm gonna ask everybody again to keep your mics muted. Let me just run through the rules. Talk with the Titans. We have 3 rules. Rule number 1 is to keep your mics muted at all times. Rule number 2, respect another person's cipher and don't interrupt them. Rule number 3 is no profanity. And you know what? I'm giving it a 1 strike and then you're out rule. So please obey those rules. Ankh, you are.
Man, I ain't even
You're
get
the
to
worst.
talk.
You're the worst for it. So I'm warning you, everybody who's on here right now, to please respect everybody's cipher. Keep your mics muted, and respect the person and no profanity, please. So Ishmael, could you give us a recap of what transpired, in the last show?
Yeah, last show was really just a lot of information from 2 of the main people that were, of course, hosting the event itself. We had Harry giving his perspective, his point of view, later on being joined by Polight, as well as Sarnetta being able to share their particular experiences of what transpired during the particular debate. I think it's good to sometimes to switch it up and to realize that there were many different layers of what actually transpired at the debate. We dealt with what was called a more emotional, passionate side of things, and everybody that's involved in this particular debate, I looked at them all as lions. Whether it's Harry being a lion, Polight being a lion, so we're going to clash and have certain things. But there's always going to be something valuable that you're also going to get out of a debate. The sharing of information. So what we can do is we can highlight some of the things that we actually picked up in a positive way also. Everything was not definitely negative, and everything was not always behind the scenes. We've gone through behind the scenes, but how about the people who were maybe observing what happened? Or some of the people that may have just been some of the side players of what happened. Some of the things that I think that was very beneficial, I think that Harry emphasized a lot of things dealing with community and important aspects of the community, almost like co-op and like farming, the value of food sovereignty, not being dependent on other people feeding you, and understanding that you're not even going to get the right kind of nutrients in the food that you're purchasing every day. This is something that's very, very important. It's something that inflicts us here in urban America, today. So I know that for us as our Raw Squad, we're building up relationships. We deal with some people that do urban farming because we understand that a lot of us have lawns. A lot of us have access to different plots of land, and we can grow our own food. And it's going to be more healthy for us. It's something that we're able to control. And I think that was a very important aspect of something that Harry was bringing in his round 1. So if there's anything that I saw that was a very, very important, was him saying, you know what, this is what we're doing over in Israel independently and as a community. And I think that's something that's very, very important. I wish, in fact, that he probably should have stayed on that vein, because it was a disservice of whoever was trying to give him knowledge of how we debate, the way that we do our debates. He was ill-equipped and actually awe-shocked with some of the situations as was transpiring in front of him. We debate a little bit differently. So someone else may be thinking that they're in a college setting and expecting Robert's rules of order. We don't follow Robert's rules of order. We follow Sarnetta's rules of order. That's how we debate. And it can be quite shocking, and because you're going to get the scholastic side of things, but you're going to get it from an ethnic flavor. And if you're not conditioned and you're not primed for what's happening in our environment that we're all comfortable in, we already know what to expect. But if you're not from the community, you're going to be faced with certain things, or something may throw you off, and it becomes a chain reaction. So
It's your thing
you
kind
can
of going
expect
on.
that. I was trying to. Okay.
Now go ahead.
Can you hear me all right?
You back now.
You hear
Go
me
ahead.
okay?
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. It would be a disservice for someone not to give someone a courtesy heads up of how we do what we do, the vibrations that we move in. So I think that that could have been very, very challenging on how the information was being disseminated in that particular debate. Brother Ankh, what did you kind of pick up and some of the information of, some of the valuable things that you picked up, you being at the debate before we go to Harry himself? What is it that you picked up, Brother Ankh?
What's going on, Harry?
Hey, feeling good. Good to hear your voice again.
All right, man. I tried to help you out as much as I can on the platform. You know that, man.
Yeah, you
I,
conduct yourself like a true gentleman.
I enjoy the competition of the debate, no matter what arena it's in, and I respect. Well, I don't necessarily have to respect the combatants, but I don't disrespect them because I recognize it takes heart to go in there, and I just recognize heart. So I'm gonna tell you that you had a lot of heart coming on that platform, and I appreciate that because I just enjoy competition. So I tried to be of service or what I could do, and just to make sure the competition, you know what I'm saying, was there. But I just kind of think you wasn't really ready for that. I mean, you was going it against the champ right there, and that's just the truth. You feel me? And they just do things a little bit different. And I was telling you, just keep going with your presentation because it's 3 rounds. You know what I'm saying? I thought your first round was okay, but I was there to really watch the slide presentations, and I kind of had some information that I knew that could refute some of the things you did. I'm just really wondering, like, you would have to upgrade some of your information, though, Harry. I think you was thinking you could come in with something new. I mean, the I'm a Raw Squad did a lot of work on that, on all that stuff, man. A lot of the pseudoisms, right? I just felt like you probably, I don't know if y'all gonna do that again, but you need to really dig into what you're gonna go into. And yeah, I mean, I think that if you do it again, you won't be surprised. You was kind of like surprised and shit. I was over there saying, "Come on, Harry, man, come on, come on, man, you can, come on, man." Come on, man. You should have just did that second round with your presentation. But I mean, I don't know, man. Any reason why you didn't throw your presentation up there in the second round, Harry?
Yeah, we definitely spoke about it previously, but I just wanna stick for a few minutes on the first round if we can, because I appreciate what you said and I appreciate your feedback. I'm hearing people say that what I brought to the table was elementary. It was already spoken about, discussed. It was old news. It's a very personal question. You don't have to answer, but I want to know how many people in the room actually had an experience with this chemical called dimethyltryptamine, where it was forcefully ingested upon themselves. I don't know if you have, Brother Ankh, or anyone in this screen has, but I'd like to see who has. Anyone?
With the chemical that does what? You said it does what for you?
Well, that's the fact that you're asking that question still means that this topic wasn't old and it wasn't discussed already, because people wouldn't know what I was talking about. Dimethyltryptamine is a chemical we extract from acacia wood, which is acacia is one of the main trees of the gods of Egypt as well as worship of the Israelites. And when this chemical is injected, smoked, or certain ways that they used to take it in South America with the Mayan culture, it forces a certain state of mind, a consciousness that is you can't describe it, unexplainable, and it's completely mysterious. And I was trying to suggest that unless someone had this experience or was fully integrated with it, they really couldn't, discuss the ancient gods of Egypt, because they don't understand the places that in the mind that these people were journeying. So I'm curious, if it's really such an old conversation, how many people actually messed with this chemical?
You familiar with mushrooms?
I'm familiar, but it's a different chemical than dimethyltryptamine. It's the main psychoactive chemical there is psilocybin, which is also part of ancient cultures,
Correct.
but not stressed as much as this one chemical, dimethyltryptamine.
But
let me
that's
ask you this.
found in voodoo, though. I mean, you can find a lot of voodoo ceremonies. Professor James Smalls talked about this, that the difference between Islam, Christianity, and Judaism was that in the African traditions, they had plants that they actually took. These herbs, right, that would help stimulate your mind in certain ways. So this is really nothing new to the conversation. You just introduced one aspect of it, And just to let you know, that's why I talked about certain mushrooms and certain things, and I can actually go through my archives. And matter of fact, we've done shows on that, talking about that, and that's the difference between Christianity and tradition.
Right, we can go into.
I think it was a miscommunication the way that Harry was presenting that information. Not that particular part. I think that part of it was actually very valuable. That was the part that I was just talking about highlighting was very positive. I think that the way that you communicated to the public when you were dealing with, we'll say, the calcifying of the pineal gland, that particular aspect is something that our community, pretty much as the conscious community, is a lot of us are really familiar with. We'll have people in fluoride-free toothpaste, and those are parts that we kind of emphasize in that part. But the way that you kind of delivered it to us, it came across like, let me drop this bomb on you, and then it failed because it came across as if you people don't know anything about this, and we're like, wait a minute, we've been dealing with that part for 20 plus years. So, right. but you were dealing with it, coupling it with other information that was very valuable, but it was the way that the communication came across. So then when you came out, you initially started off with a zinger. That's a fail, because they're already going to expect for you to do that. So you're setting the wrong type of a tone. Mm-hmm. So in the round one, those are mistakes that somebody probably should have prepped you with to say, look, don't do this, try to do this, try to do that. And it's a mistake when you're offending the people that you're actually supposed to be convincing in order to put forth your argument. So it's just some public speaking tricks that you kind of that you made some mistakes on.
Hey, don't you have any Graham Hancock books?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, Graham Hancock, he has a whole book on that DMT. They talk about the spirit molecule and all of this other stuff, but it's actually
heard of it. Hmm?
Huh?
Yeah, I heard of it.
It's one thing.
It's actually something that already exists inside of your brain anyway. Like,
exactly, but
so
it secretes when we dream at night, but when you take it during the awake state is what our ancestors used to do. What I'm trying to get at is, because you're all aware of the calcified pineal gland, all these things, but I don't see that the community is actually taking these plants to heal themselves, because these are their ancestors' plants that their ancestors would have used had they gone through a traumatic experience to regain and recoup themselves. But these things are actually being held hostage to us. So why is the focus of the community not on re-accessing the plants that are designed to heal us, that were the plants that our ancestors of Kemet and Israel spoke about? So we're disconnected from the actual theme of the religions we're speaking about, or the cultures we're speaking about. And when I tried to bring it up, it was like, oh, Harry, this is old news. I'm like, well, who's running the movement to reintroduce these plants to the mind?
Well, Harry, where's DMT grown at? Where's that plant grown?
Well, it could be. It's not a plant. It could be extracted from.
It comes from the ayahuasca, right?
No, ayahuasca is a combination of DMT and an MAO inhibitor, which allows you to drink DMT and it lasts for 5 to 10 hours, as opposed to if you just smoke DMT, it lasts just about 10 minutes. So ayahuasca is the drink that you're seeing the Mayans in South America and the Aztecs that they were drinking for therapy.
So where's DMT at, like in a plant on the continent of Africa?
DMT could be extracted from the Nile acacia tree, which was said to have been where the certain gods of Egypt were born from this tree. So I'm like, if we can't see that there's a theme here, like this is not about some metaphysical, mystical gods. These are states of consciousness, and there are plants involved here. We have to redefine the narrative and then learn that these narratives are designed to heal us, because without sounding shallow, I think there needs to be a large healing, because some evil stuff just transpired for the past couple hundred years, and we need to get out of this.
Then the wiser approach probably would have been to say, you know what, Polight, you already have a holistic medical center. What are you doing in order to say, look, let's do some side business to make sure that our communities are being healed. You have the centers, we have this, we have access to this, and we can work together on that. That would have been a wiser approach in order to take, not particularly during the debate, but I'm saying the vibration could have come across that way, as opposed to the opposition of it was, that's something absolutely that we need to know. That's absolutely something that our community could use. But are you trying to replace the holistic centers that we're already opening, the schools that we're already opening? So it's coming across as an enemy, or what is this white man trying to replace our information with? We already know that Asar, Aset, and Heru, that these are all metaphysical and they're not real people. We already are moving into our levels of higher consciousness and trying to move on a higher vibration and understanding that. So what are you trying to replace it with? That's why it came across as offensive or someone attempting to talk down to us, when our community, the people that were in that particular building, they're actually very enlightened human beings. These are not the normal people that you're going to see in the city. They're normally the smartest people in the room when they walk into a room. If they're at the family table, they're normally the persons who's the point person that everybody wants to debate at that table. Each one of them, the people in that room. So they're very enlightened human beings. And they're coming for a body of knowledge and information. But if you're coming in the form of a debate, we're going to say, okay, are you coming as a friend or are you coming as an enemy? You're going to be painted as the enemy, but you also have to make sure that the way that your communication is coming out, that it won't come across in a certain type of a way. And I think that's where a lot of, the situation was kind of falling short. That should have
been a solution. That should have been in your solution section right there. You did it wrong.
Right, well, what I was trying to do was trying to redefine God, because when we speak about God, we're so lost from what it really was. When we look at the narrative of the people claiming to have been one with God, their whole story is being intimate with plants. So I was trying to, when he says, can the Jewish people and everyone else share the same God, I'm like, well, let's redefine God. What is this book talking about?
Oh.
Now, have you got a chance to study Dr. Sebi at all? Have you studied Dr. Sebi and his work?
Yeah, I've seen him speak about the right way to eat and the nutrition, and that's extremely valuable information. I don't know if he's speaking about dimethyltryptamine and neurological resets from trauma, but what I'm going to go back to my question is, it's very difficult for me to see someone talk about ancient Egypt without saying that they've had these experiences of the mind, of the consciousness from the plants that the ancient Egyptians were taking to better get an appreciation or an outlook for the culture. I think there's a big disconnect.
Have you taken the Harry?
Have I?
Yes.
Yes, I personally have. Where in a place where it was legal and in a medical condition, well before I had my beard, before I was studying Torah. I found it interesting.
So is it, you found it, so do you think the black community need any more damn drugs?
The reason you're calling it drugs right now is the issue, because it's made illegal by people who are actually selling you pills, big pharma, and then you're saying, okay, that's not a drug, but the plants my ancestors are taking, those were drugs. So you're under the mindset of something that was designed to heal you is actually something that was bad for you.
No, I'm not saying that it was a negative drug, but it's still a drug. I'm just simply saying that if you abuse that particular product, then things will be different. Am I not wrong?
Well, there's no question there should be never abuse, but the nature of dimethyltryptamine and ayahuasca is they're not abusable drugs. You can't get addicted to them. They're actually quite scary. You do it once and you're like, whoa, I don't need to go there again. I'm cool. I reset my neurological pathways, previous trauma, over. I'm good.
Boy, you crazy. Boy, that's crazy, man. You say you good, you don't go there no more. Hey man, it's got to be another way, bro. That's interesting, right?
Well, we're calling this the consciousness community. I'm really trying to steer the direction in a unique way, and I would love feedback, critique, see what people say, see who's willing to go out there and try it.
Hey man, hey, I need to figure out another way to reset. I don't need no more mind-altering plants in my life. There. No sir. But that's very interesting.
And say that we're not that's embracing the pharmaceutical corporations either.
Yeah.
We do look for holistic, all leaning towards that as in a conscious community. We know that pharmaceutical drugs, we understand how big business works. We understand that, keeping us sick keeps them in business. So we definitely try to find healthy alternatives. That's why I was trying to say that actually what you were bringing to the table in round one was actually something that was very valuable and something that you probably should have emphasized a little bit more, because that's something that you could have connected with. That was an avenue to say, oh, hold on a minute, because Smack and everybody else was making sure that the crowd was going to be quiet. They didn't want to make sure that that whole vibration of trying to make it confrontational was going to override the information coming from you to the audience. So you actually had the audience in your hand to say, look, this is what's going on. So the first intro, the way you were coming out with that was definitely positive. Now the round two, that took a whole different tone because that was more conversational and confrontational. So that's, what I'm saying? No.
That's why I addressed before, and I kind of felt bad for the people who paid to get a good round 2, round 3, and that's why I'm suggesting I would love if Brother Polight's willing to give me the opportunity to have a one-on-one. It could be live streamed on, him and his couch, me and my couch, or we could present our PowerPoints and have a word, one against each other without audience without a white guy bowing down and getting everyone screaming Black Power, etc. I think that's right for the people who paid and everyone to see that. So you have me suggesting, Brother Polight, get back in the room with me. It doesn't have to be in Harlem. It could be online, and continue that dialogue. Because you know, you're 100% right, Ishmael. I was you know, a little caught off guard with the energy. I thought I was going into like a Harlem, you know, not a Harlem. You know, I meant the Harvard conversation where two
Right.
people sit on a chair, cross their legs, you know, have a sip of water. The guy in the
Right.
middle. Yes. So I was caught a little off guard, and then I realized, you know, the information he brought was just totally. I didn't feel it was like aligned with academic works. But at
Right.
the same time, we should have a round two. We should have a round three where we have a rebuttal where I could actually say what I felt about what he said. He could say what he
Mhm.
felt about what I said. So if you guys are on board to help set that up, that'd be great.
Right, right. And I think that the people and the masses will benefit if you guys can come to some type of, resolution in order to really make that happen. It sounded as if, Polight was kind of open to that. I don't know what you guys would agree to as far as, the background, things like that. I would definitely respect that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think that would be beneficial for you to actually get your message out and to, emphasize certain key things, as well as Polight being able to address some certain things too, and hopefully in the long run that might be something that maybe you two can work in conjunction with something, and again the masses will benefit from that also. So perhaps something like that could happen down the line if you're bringing something of value and he has something of value. Then I think that's something that everybody would benefit from. So yeah, maybe like a part two would be something that can
Right.
happen.
Down. You know, and after hearing everyone's feedback, you know, with I'm like, it looks like I'm trying to give some blows. You know, with I made some comments that kind of shows that there was not so much integrity. I feel bad. You know, I don't want this to go that way. I'm generally at peace with the whole world. You know, I try not to kill bugs. I don't want any negativity between me and anyone. You know, the whole time though, from the way into everything, Sonnet is always telling me, Harry, get heated, push in, go there, dig a little bit. You know. So like he like got me all revved up to say what I really felt, where I thought there was something not straight. But I don't think that has to be part of the whole the future of this conversation. And so I would apologize if I insinuated anything wrong with anyone or negative with them. I'm going to refrain from doing that and just sticking to the words of truths or non-truths.
Right, right. Now, you get a chance to spend like time over here in the States quite a bit also, right? You live over in Israel, but is it like a dual citizenship? Do you come over here to also do like business matters and stuff
I
also?
have dual citizenship. I do come back and forth. I mean, I live year round in Israel, but there'll be once every few months I'll kind of come to Israel for come to America for a week or two, just just to keep everything flowing.
And then what is it like your end game of what you want to do within your organization? Are you working in conjunction? Is like a point of your emphasis with urban America, or is the point of your emphasis with just people in general? Why your interest in what's taking place in urban America or within the conscious community in the first place? Is it because we reached out to you and that opened your eyes to it, or was that an avenue or something that you were already exploring to connect with or to do? Why the connection?
It's a great question. I mean, I definitely was not aware of this whole scene of the consciousness community, but what I was aware of is I'm a strong believer in the Igbo people of Nigeria, of Biafra, so to say. And I'm seeing, I was told by Igbo tribal leader, there's 1 million Igbo people now who are just practicing their ancient version of Hebrew, spirituality, and there's a greater return amongst them to reunite with their roots. And I see that a lot of the Igbo were taken to America on the slave trade. So I'm like, wow, that's fascinating for me to see this whole thing and see them. I think they could do a great justice to the world if there was a collaborative efforts between the people who claim to be from the House of Israel. So now, once I got invited to this thing, I'm like, the guy who's inviting me is in Igbo. People here are like trying
Harry,
to. Yes.
Harry, 1 second. Look, sorry to not bother you, because I am
Please.
from Nigeria myself and I go there quite frequently. Are you in contact with people in Nigeria, and have you been there?
Well, I haven't been there, but I built
Because
a social.
majority of the Igbo people, which they will not explain to you, is that majority of them are Catholic, Roman Catholics.
Well, no, yeah. So I'm actually I know a lot of what's going on there, but I haven't been there personally. But we have a social network where we built, where part of my vision, what you're asking me, is we're decentralizing communities around the world, which means we're taking communities, empowering them to go off the grid, make their own electricity, do their own food, create a value system between communities that we could exchange without fiat, fake currencies. And we have over 30 plus villages in Nigeria already registered saying that they're from the people of Israel.
Because you're gonna still have one major problem.
Yes.
Is that Nigeria is governed by the Muslims, right? So
Correct.
for you to just come in and do something like that, you have to go through their government. And I doubt it very much if the government will allow you to do something as big as that, considering that that's where the oil is.
Right. So I love that you're going here. Are you Igbo or are you Yoruba?
I'm Yoruba.
Okay, exactly. So I was under the impression that the Igbo people had Biafra and the Yoruba people had their land, and that they were put together by force under one entity called Nigeria, which was not a real. There's no such thing as a Nigerian person.
The Northerners control the country.
Right. So with the Igbo people, what they're trying to do, regardless of me or anything, is they're trying to go back to Biafra, where they're independent and autonomous. And their own land. They've already had a genocide. I don't know if there's going to be another crazy war with them, but they're being persecuted every day. They're being killed, and I'm following it on Facebook because I have people on the ground out there. And you know what? I think Israel could have a big hand in helping them do that. Now that you're being Yoruba, I don't want to get political because I know the beauty of Nigeria was that it doesn't matter if you're Igbo or Yoruba. We could get together and do this. But that hasn't been the case. It's not showing to be a sustainable system. So when you have lines that were drawn by the British that were just there for political or business reasons, we have to reassess, were these lines beneficial to us or not? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't. Terry, are you still there? Terry,
I'm there.
Okay. So did you catch the concept of what Rabbi Harry was talking about, brother?
I was hearing it.
Okay. And the interesting thing I'll just add to that is that there's one other nation that claims to be from the children of Israel, and it's the Pashtun people in Afghanistan. There are 25 million out there, and they claim to be the descendants of the tribes. They also have a line that was made by the British right through their heartland to create Pakistan, which was there no such thing as a Pakistani people 100 years ago. It was an entity created by the British, and the Pashtun people are suffering tremendously from it. And the same exact people who drew those two lines drew a line in Israel to create the Palestinian people. And we all know, they have to have their rights, but there was no Palestinian people 100 years ago. So there was no Nigeria, there was no Pakistan, there was no Palestine.
Rabbi Harry, just one moment, please. Richard, if you can mute your mic, there's an echo that's taking place. Or if everybody can make sure that their mic is muted. Okay, please continue. Yeah, Rabbi Harry was speaking, so if everybody can please mute their mics, so we can hear much clearer. There was an echo.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Could we have everybody just muting their mics, please, and let the speaker speak? So, Richie, just keep your mics muted. I don't think your signal is good enough. But peace to the brother, Black Eyes TV. Go ahead, Rabbi.
Okay, I hope everyone heard me. I was just saying the final point that when we're dealing with how I got interested in the community, it goes back to the Igbo, and it goes back to, me being in Israel and the other lost tribes in Afghanistan. We're all dealing with a similar fate of lines that were drawn by the British people and are creating a political turmoil for us. So I got very interested in seeing how we can take our common sufferings and our common afflictions to unite to take back what's ours, which is an opportunity to live on the earth with its resources without war and middlemen.
No.
Rabbi Harry, I think another important part that you were likely to expound upon a little bit more was you were dealing with the Limba. And you're dealing with the Limba tribe as far as them, and actually you were breaking down the genetic markers and of them actually being of the priest, the priesthood tribe, and it was also something that you would emphasize in your particular video. Can you please share with some of the viewers some of that particular history, or maybe something that they may have lost within the debate itself when you were bringing that up? Can you go in on some of that?
Yeah, I appreciate that also. It appears that when Israel became a state, people from around the world were writing letters to Israel saying, we're also from the lost tribes. Could we come back and get the right of return? And being, Israel was started very Eurocentric, they were very skeptical about people who had that identity or had that claim. They thought people were just trying to get out of it.
No. Is it just me, or has Harry's mic been muted?
Yeah, I think no, I don't. It sounded like it either froze or maybe it just got muted somehow. Because I can hear you fine, Brother Kalam.
Okay, great. Continue. I'm just here, but continue doing.
Okay. So I think that Harry, I'm sure he'll come back and join us again when he gets relinked again.
You
I
hear
think that
me?
he was, yeah, we hear you now, Harry. Uh, she's dealing with some aspects of the Limba tribe and the Limba making some of their claims of being some of the tribes
Right
of
on.
Israel. So Harry can come in and share some
You
of that
you hear
information
me
with us.
now?
Yeah, we hear you much better. Yes, sir.
Okay, amazing. So as I was saying, that people thought that Blemba were just trying to get on the bandwagon, and then they did some research, saw they had a lot of customs and traditions. Then it was a professor from Duke University, I think his name was David Goldberg. He went down there and started doing DNA tests, and he showed not the whole tribe, but a significant tribe, 10% of them, I believe, had this Cohen gene, the Y chromosome marker that's found amongst the Sephardic Jews of, Portugal, Spain, North Africa, Morocco, as well as amongst the Ashkenaz Jews, who are the Kohanim, the priests. So today, when I go to pray, we go up to bless the Torah, and the priests go up first. So we still know amongst the community which families are from the priests, which families are not. And this is ancient. It's their last names. It's the traditions. So the families who have that priesthood, all of a sudden DNA technology comes, and we're like, wait, the families who said this, for 1,000 plus 2,000 years, actually have a unique marker different from everyone else. But it's actually a very small percentage of the Ashkenazi people have this, because the priests aren't large. What we do learn from it is that the people of Israel actually did, as the prophecy says, and the scripture says, they went into Spain, they went into Europe, they were in Rome 2,000 years ago as slaves, they were living there, they were in Europe, and there was a pure line of the Israelites who flourished in Europe, and there was also a lot of people who converted and grafted themselves in, which according to the document of those original Israelites, they allowed that. That was something that document allows. So I don't think DNA should be something, or yet can be something yet, to determine who is an Israelite or not. But as far as the Cohen gene goes, that is definitely something very interesting, and I think it could use some more research.
And as you were breaking down like some of the aspects of how some of the other Jews are separated or how they're identified, what is the difference of when you're saying the Sephardic as opposed to the Ashkenazi? What are some of the differences that are within that? If you said like the Sephardic are basically in the Spain region, or even in North Africa or some of the Mediterranean regions. But what are going to be some of the differences of what you're seeing as far as the Sephardic to the Ashkenazi, and what are the differences in that?
Right. There's actually those are just two of the main ones. But there's actually, like, as far as Europe goes, there's probably about 8 or 9 different classifications of Jews based on the regions that they came from. So the Ashkenazi refers to the German areas, people who are from Germany. I know that a lot of people say that there were Khazars, but there's actually groups of Jews who are in the regions of Turkey, and where in the northern Caucasus areas where the Khazars would be, who don't identify with even being Ashkenaz. And if there was a potential Khazar conversion, they would be the descendants. The Ashkenazi Jews trace themselves back to Rome, whereas in Germany, whereas the Sephardic Jews trace themselves back to northern Africa and Spain.
And then have they made it official as far as like Sephardic Jews or certain branches of Jews being able to go and get Spanish citizenships? I know that's something that Spain was trying to do in order to open up citizenship and allow them to get passports and access to Europe if maybe they were over in America, South America, basically wherever the Sephardic families were, they're able to take a certain type of a test and get Spanish citizenships. Do you know any kind of insight about that?
Definitely. I was in the Israeli government when there was the Spanish representatives from Spain in Israel speaking about this. They number, they're in Portugal and they're in South America. They number there's got to be 7+ million people who are now Catholic or Christians who actually from the 1400 Inquisitions, who have family trees, history, names, and as well as DNA to say they were from the Jews of those regions, who trace back all the way 2,000 years ago when they were exiled there.
So can you kind of explain exactly what the situation is, just to
Right.
kind of add some clarity to maybe the
So
listening audience or what's being offered from Spain?
Spain offered citizenship to anyone who was expelled for being a Jew. And I don't believe the Jewish people are taking them up on that offer by mass. You hear a story, a handful of people, a few guys are going to do it. It's a little too late, but it's a nice gesture. But it's always good to have good political ties. So anyone who could prove they were expelled, which were millions and millions of people from Spain, that they're able to go back and get citizenship.
Okay. Now, as far as like the homeland, it's stated that one of the homelands that Jewish people were trying to find originally, or before they ended up going to the Middle Eastern area, was that in South America. Why were they looking at South America as like either a substitute or one of the locations of the homeland? Why was that coming up as one of the locations?
Regarding South Africa, you're saying?
No, South America
Oh,
is. It was
South
like,
America.
yeah, South America is one of the locations that was deemed as a homeland of Jews, and then they ended up switching it to the Middle Eastern region. Do you know why they were emphasizing? Was it just South America had land available? Is that the reason why that was being used?
Are you talking about the original Zionists when they were deciding where to make the Jewish homeland?
Yes, sir. Right, correct.
Right. So the Jewish people today on the ground, who are the Torah observant Jews, are not aligned with the ideologies of the original Zionists. They had agendas that was not in line with Torah observance necessarily, as much as just creating a place for the Jew, not needing the Torah, but the culture of the Jew and etc. So I don't know if they were motivated by Jewish messianic visions of a future temple and reestablishing the homeland with our law of Moses. They were more interested in the political state of Jews, just because we needed it because we've been persecuted for 2,000+ years. So the fact that I think they were looking at a few different places where to make this. I'm not aligned with that, and I don't subscribe to any ideas that they had necessarily. I come from a line of rabbis, notably his name was the Vilna Gaon, Rabbi Eliyahu Kramer, who a few hundred years ago, before the Zionists were making moves, they were sending waves of people to Israel. Their communities that they sent in the 1800s are still in Israel today, flourishing, studying Torah. So that's more how I identify with the homeland, etc.
Okay. And then the way that you practice your Hebrew, is there what is the difference if somebody is maybe they're in their local community and they're hearing someone speaking Yiddish? What is going to be the difference between somebody who is maybe speaking a different version of Hebrew as opposed to someone who's speaking like a certain type of a Yiddish? Or what are going to be some of the differences on that?
Right, I don't speak Yiddish, but it's an exile language, just like I'm speaking English right now because I'm in America. These people were in Germanic lands for, according to the prophecies of scriptures, almost 2,000 years. They evolved also their own language. It's also known that Hebrew, there's groups today who don't speak Hebrew because they believe it's a holy tongue and it shouldn't be profaned to have everyday conversation with. It should just be used to study the word and the Torah, and everyday conversation should be a side language. So you see in ancient times that the Jewish people spoke Aramaic and not Hebrew for their conversation, but when they studied Torah, they studied in Hebrew. So Yiddish is an expression of that concept of they don't use Hebrew to speak in, but they use another language. So there's groups today who absolutely won't converse in Hebrew and only in Yiddish. But I know a few, like 3 or 4 words to get my point across to them if I need to.
And then like the Yiddish is considered like a part of German in Hebrew, or a bit of a mixed or something, right?
Yeah, it's a Germanic language with a slight Hebrew influence, like Aramaic also is. Aramaic has a lot of Hebrew influence in it.
Okay. And then like for Aramaic, then that's also where you can get like branches of like the Arabic and like the Hebrew. It kind of branches off into those two different linguistic branches, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a crossover there, and the two cultures, Arabic, and, a lot of the greatest rabbis wrote their works in Arabic and spoke Arabic. Even Maimonides, he was in Egypt, he was in North Africa. He spoke and wrote his books in Arabic, so it's very interesting to see that there was that crossover.
So within like different branches of the Moorish family, you'll have some of the Moors that will say that they're Moabites, and then they go through like a Canaanite Moabite history. What is some of the what is some of the information that you can share as far as Moab or like Moabites and that particular aspect of the history? Is that something that you're familiar with, or is that something that's discussed? Like why would origin is of Moab and that they're Moabites? Why do you think that they would say that?
It's actually interesting that they say that with the Jewish people have a debate, amongst ourselves. Are the people of Canaan, are they extinct? Are they still around? You see that, as you're speaking about Moab, it means Me'av, from our father. It comes from Lot, when he fled Sodom and Gomorrah. That's how the Moabite people came into the picture. Ruth was a Moabite who converted to become part of Israel, and from her came King David, and from him we believe comes the Messiah. So the Messiah actually has Moabite blood in him. Which is interesting. The Moors, I believe, I don't know too much, but I was under the impression there was a crossover in history where there were Jews who could have been Moors and Moors who could have been Jews. There was an intermix between that, but I do know that they had good political relations. As far as today, I'm building with some Moors, because some of them in particular are very deep in the concept of decentralization. So when I'm talking to them, I'm like, you're doing one thing in your spiritual works, I'm doing another thing, but that's totally irrelevant to the fact that we need to decentralize as humans, because the power at B doesn't have our best interests in mind.
Okay. So we're definitely going to open it up for more of the questions that maybe some of the other people may have. Is there anyone else that's listening on that may have some questions for Rabbi Harry, or maybe just giving some insight of some things that were picked up at the debate that recently had taken place? I wanted to also stress some of the things that I picked up, of course, from Brother Polight, some of the information of what was being shared and exchanged. I think that Polight did a good job as far as blending a heavy volume of information and putting it in a way that was palatable for our community, and understanding, putting it in the proper vibration so that we could relate to the information. I think that the way that he did the emoji and the comedic letters was absolutely brilliant. He made it so easy for people to understand context and how the menu nature is displayed and how it's read, and the mannerisms, the spirit behind it, the African spirit behind it, not the cold European robotic version of it, the soul of the meta nature as a living language. He was able to put that in a way that we could relate to. So yeah, I think he did a brilliant job of that. I think he asked a lot of hard-hitting questions. The rabbis and the babies, I think that's hard-hitting things that that should be asked. Things to say, okay, is this a Day of Atonement? What's your stance on it? Is our community aware of this? There's other people in the community saying that was old news. The Hebrew Israelites saying we've been hearing that for years. Another aspect of our community had never heard that before. So hard-hitting questions. I think that Polight showed a lot of showmanship, something that we're used to having in our debates. Debates are boring as heck. If you're just dealing with two people talking behind a podium, it comes across as politicians, and there's no soul behind it. And we are just different. So we're going to come in with rap. We'll come in with the drums. We'll come in doing it the way that we do it. We put our flavor on it. So I think that he did a good job of blending showmanship and just trying to make sure that he was able to keep it focused on his opponent, but not going overboard, because I know for a fact that Polight was holding back. So I think he did a good job of blending that. But I think that overall, if it was just more volumes of rounds going back and forth, and maybe if Harry was able to just kind of get the key points of what he wanted to do, I think that um, I think overall that there was a nice exchange of information. If people really listen to the information that was being exchanged, I think they're really going to learn some really valuable things from both sides, even though the debate itself was cut short. I think that it's something that should be explored on a deeper level. And I definitely, like Ankh, I want to salute anybody that's willing to step up on the stage and to engage in academic debate. And all debate means is to fight. That's all that a debate means. It means to fight. So you definitely salute a soldier that gets up on stage on both sides that want to engage in a fight. If anybody has any questions, I think that is it brother Akud? Did you have you had a question about it? You posted something up there.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, family.
Ngozi mentioned something about that. Was it the Cohen gene? He could have probably expounded on it more than me, but he mentioned that basically that was totally pseudo, and I know that that's been addressed in the Amun-Ra because they deal with the pseudo thing. So I like to know if he knows anything about that.
Well, I know that that is definitely Ngozi's stance on it, and I've been in opposition with Ngozi about that before because I've been representing the Limba against the Amun-Ra squad before. We have our own internal, squad debate sometimes on certain topics, and I was one that was definitely saying, yo, you know what I'm saying, like the Limba tribe was, they're identified as X, Y, and Z and going back into the history and stuff. But yes, that is definitely Ngozi's stance, and Ngozi is definitely an in-depth scholar, and when he goes down and breaks down the whole DNA, it's definitely a legitimate stance that he takes that should be explored on a deeper level, But the Limba tribe, I mean, the science is going to be the science, and that's one thing that really added legitimacy to what the Limba were trying to emphasize. They know what the history comes from. They have generations and they have a rich oral history and they have certain traditions, but it became blurry because once they were able to have an identity, then other people did start to reach out to them and started to maybe do things that may have clouded the authenticity of what they were talking about. So then they started maybe wearing or looking a certain type of a way, and people were trying to say, well, no, this is not real. It is very real, but they were just trying to say, look, come back home to the fold. You are Jews, and we are going to embrace you as a tribe, and we want to make sure that you are treated as family. They have traditions, they have Jewish traditions, but within the Limba themselves, they were living in isolation, even in African villages. They were still intermarrying a certain way, following traditions and customs. Even when they went down as far as the South African area, they were still an isolated community living a certain type of a way. So I think that should be explored even on a deeper level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely very interesting. Like I said again, though, I don't think DNA yet is going to be enough to determine who's of Israel and who's not. But the beautiful thing about the people of Israel is something that came out of Africa and was designed for all humans to partake in righteousness without separating.
Mm. So what are some of the things that you find that are so valuable within the Torah that kind of helps you live the way that you live? What is the value in it of how it works for you?
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a plethora of things, just simple things like the principle of, in Hebrew, Kol Yisrael Arevim Zel Lazeh, which means everyone in Israel is each other's guarantor, which means if I have someone going through a hardship in my neighborhood, I'm spiritually, legally, I'm his guarantor. We have to make sure he's okay. No one could be left alone or left out in the cold. So the unity and the teamwork I'm seeing through the Torah values is incredible. I get a call from a family member who's got a boy who's sick, and he's got some issues and stuff that she needs to get out of the house and go somewhere. We have a farm. We'll take him in. I don't need to know this boy. The rabbi says he's good. He knows the family. Comes from a city. We got it. We'll take him in. We'll treat him like our own son. So I like that we have something that unites us. Because you don't know if a human's good or not. You don't know if he's righteous or not. So someone who dedicates his life to the Torah, is someone who's going to be righteous. You know, obviously there could be a Jew who's not righteous, then I'm going to say he's not dedicated to the Torah. He didn't get dedicate his life to the Torah. So when someone dedicates their life to the Torah, it's an indicator that they're righteous. When someone makes a Sabbath meal, Friday night and the Shabbat meal, they're not doing that for fun. They're doing that because they believe in the Torah, and that means that's a house I'd want to be in. That's a house where there's light inside of it. That's one thing. Second thing, there's definitely the mystical side of the Torah, which I found very empowering. That leads you on the way of sexual purity, mind control, conquering your desires for eating unhealthy. All these things, which I'm taking out of the Torah, empowers me to enjoy my time on this planet. Feel like I'm able to manifest things on this planet. My human technology. Stuff like that is just I see it's very aligned with nature. I don't think I'm in this strange cult where I'm doing things that aren't actually affecting my state of mind and my production in the world. And I happen to believe that the time of the redemption of Israel is upon us. You're seeing billions of people around the world who believe in the house of King David and a Redeemer coming forth from it. I think that is the platform that will create a unity that's global, that will go beyond the borders that are dissolving, beyond race, beyond color, and unify on something beautiful. So I live in a magical world where I think we're heading towards a good place.
Now, one of the questions that's coming from one of the people, Richard, he's asking a question to ask you. What do you think, Harry, of the Jews like Dan Gertler holding all of the Congo to hostage?
Yeah, well, so I'm the first guy to throw a Jew under a bus if I think he's doing something evil. That's why my first round of the debate I called out the people who are financing a lot of the wars in the world, how there could be potential Jews in that mix. So I'm trying to decentralize, go off the dollar. Anyone who's rich off something, taking other people's culture or their plants or their resources, or that needs to be spotlighted and stopped immediately. So if someone wants me to team up with them against a Jew, if that Jew's doing evil, I'll have no problem doing that. That's part of my purpose on this earth. So I'm not going to defend a Jew doing something evil. If there's something evil happening, you can build with me to try to stop it.
And what is it that you're emphasizing when you're dealing with the banking? What is it that you're offering, or what is your idea as an alternative to the banking? Are you talking about the way that the Rothschilds have the banking system set up, or just the banking system in general, how it's set up? What is your alternative of what you're offering?
Well, the way it kind of is right now is, let's say, for example, you have a cliff and there's a big board, a diving board hanging off the cliff, and a lot of people are standing on one side of it, keeping it like balanced. And at the end of the diving board, hanging over the cliff, is the man, quote unquote, the banks. And we're pointing our fingers at it, saying that these guys are evil. They did this to us, they financed this, they did that. Instead of having that conversation, we could just take one step back off the board, and it'll fall off the cliff. We're the ones supporting it, we're the ones financing it. It's around us, we agree with it. So if we collectively were not okay with it, and we formed our own currency, I'm not a master of it, whether it be Bitcoin or whether it be some type of shared, cryptocurrency based on what assets we could produce, which are the technologies out there, then we could holistically do that. But all the while we have materialism in the world, where we value things that we could buy, that we have to keep getting the new this, the new that, keep up with the Joneses, so to say, and we're never going to break free. So we need to realize that the assets we need are land, food, shelter, and medicine, and communication between each other. And if we could just really focus on those things, we could very easily take away the powers to be. For example, you have these wars over gas stations. If we as humans said on Monday, we're not going to Exxon, we're going to this other gas station, we could take Exxon out of business in a day or two. We could take Coca-Cola out of business in less than a week. If we're like, we're not drinking Coca-Cola this 1 week, they're over. Their whole operations are going to be unsustainable. So we're the ones financing the people that we're calling our enemies and getting upset about it. We have to be proactive and agree on a model to decentralize. I put out my potential model that could work. If you don't have to accept it. If someone else did something similar, I'll build with them. I'll promote their thing. We're in it to win it. We want to redeem ourselves as humans, and it has to be collective.
I think I absolutely. I think that's very, very important indeed. I study a lot of people here in America. I study how the Amish you know, the Amish communities and how they kind of set up things independently. I also like the swag of how a lot of the Asians move, and I try to implement a lot of those things to say, you know what, I think they might have a little something here. Well, one of the questions is from one of the viewers, Isa. He's saying, quote, the Jewish community has an infrastructure in Brooklyn and upstate New York, in which they have gone from a synagogue to a building, to various lands and houses, into hospitals, ambulances, in which it is all non-profit, non-taxable, etc. Will he, you Harry, provide the blueprint for organizational framework so Hebrews here can do the same? That is the real test if we can work together.
Right.
Unquote.
So you know what, I think I could help with that a little bit, and you know it's interesting. You see that there were Jews upstate New York, um, you know, for 100+ years already. It was interesting. Woodstock, what happened in 1969, was a music festival that they say potentially changed the future of the world. You know, where Jimi Hendrix was. That was on a Jewish farm, you know, upstate New York. But yeah, I believe that it's possible to scale that and learn it, and it's collective. So what we did with this platform I built, which didn't have to be mine, it could be anyone else's, is each community has their own crowdfunding capabilities, which means everyone's got to get together, 20, 30 families, and be like, listen, if we all put in X amount of dollars per month into this pool, us 30 families, after 1 or 2 years, we can get our own land in Vermont, and we could do X, Y, Z. So it's just strictly organization, because money's not the issue, because between everyone on their own, they could chip in a little bit. And also, once you create that organization, then philanthropy sticks in. And philanthropy, when it sees you're organized, it'll back you up. So there's people who are willing to cut checks. They're just not willing to cut checks if it's not organized. But if you build it, it will happen. So make the vessel, and it will get filled up. So that means, you know, when I have a farm in Israel, I started looking for land before I even knew where I'd get a dollar from to buy it. You know, I even went into the negotiating tables on land before I knew where I'd get the money. But I set it up. I set the deal up. I found a place. I wrote out how much it was going to cost. I wrote a plan. I did X, Y, Z, and I put it into action. So if your community, whether it's on my platform or a different one, if they can say, we're going to get organized, we got 20, 30 families, we want to do X, Y, Z, it's going to cost X, Y, Z, we could either chip in or we could meet 50-50, and the world of philanthropy will step in. And if you see Jewish philanthropy, they're not focused necessarily on Jewish people today. Jewish philanthropy is going out into the world and stuff. So wherever there's going to be an organized thing that's for quote unquote tikkun olam, for the betterment of the world, I think they could draw into the global money pool to do that, to do those visions.
So how do you do the delicate dance? The delicate dance is this: I see you, and then you already also going to have a preconceived notion of me, meaning my community also. How do you do the delicate dance of I see you and I know your history? If I work along with you, your history is that you co-op with me, you then take over, I'm then put into second-class citizenship, you're then put into the controlling seat because you're the white man and that's what you do. Right. You're going to look at me and not realize the damage of what slavery has done to us. Many of us are spiritually damaged to the point to where we are not going to unify on the same level of something that you've probably ever seen before. So a lot of the things that inflict us, we're going to react a certain kind of a way that you're not going to expect. We don't have a foundation of language. We don't have a foundation of culture being passed down for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. We've been robbed of all of that. So the things that inflict us is going to be a disconnect. How do you do the delicate dance of trying to form something that's going to assist us, still be beneficial to you in doing that as far as your blueprint, and still making it successful? How do you say that?
Right, it's definitely a delicate dance because like you said, I'm coming to this stage with a lot of preconceived notions who I am and what I'm about. So I'm already speaking at a disadvantage. You know, I think there's two things that have to happen immediately, and what I'm about to say may sound very shallow, but I'm not here to win fans. I'm just here to say what I believe. I think that there's a massive trauma that happens from the slave trade, from humans taken out of their home, from their land, from their tribes, raped, families split apart. All these things were horrible, and the fact that it's still going on today in culture in America, have their psychological warfare, I believe, against the descendants of this slave trade. So it has to be a hybrid of stopping and deceasing cultural warfare against the African American community as far as the media goes, stereotypes goes, glorifying presidents and people who said things on record, how, you know, people of the slave trade were a lower level of human than white people. So those things that needs to be addressed by everyone. I think the presidential debates today should be about this topic and not about, you know, name calling other people. So that's the first thing. There's got to be a healing, and that's why I was kind of going into the suggestion of certain plants that heal. But that's not the only way. There's got to be a healing. But also, you know, I notice I'm dealing with the people in Nigeria, right? Let's say we're building there. We're trying to say, you know, you're claiming to be from Israel. We're in Israel. There's no room necessarily to bring 40 million Igbo back to Israel because it's the size of New Jersey. But Israel's producing this technology. We can come to you and build. So those people are not, they don't think that I'm this devil. They don't have that notion of me because they actually deal with people of their own skin color on the ground who do the most cruel things to them, as far as, you know, cutting off limbs, raping, pillaging. So they're experiencing those things from people who are the same color as them. So they're not under the impression that color is going to define what's evil or not. They're under the impression that someone who comes in righteousness will be in righteousness. But because of what happened from the slave trade, that's not such a simple conversation to have with your community. You know, if I pretended, I meditate sometimes, I'm like, you know, imagine if I was, I can't even imagine, but imagine if I was an African American taken from my homeland. I'm in America. You know, I'm waking up in 2016, my grandparents were raped. I'd be like, these shady Europeans came out of their country into Africa, took us from their land, and set this up. They're making money. They got a nice car. I would be furious. I would be outraged and furious, and I would be a leader amongst my community to rouse them up and get justice going on. So I understand where everyone's coming from, but at the end of the day, I believe righteousness is not decided by color.
Harry,
Yes.
I wanted to ask if you're doing business with the people, have you actually done business with the Igbo people?
Well, we deal on a non-for-profit level, so I'm not doing business where I'm trying to make some money off them, but I'm trying to allocate global philanthropy towards Nigerian villages, Igbo villages, to make them sustainable.
And me asking, what are you providing for them?
I provide a highway between philanthropy and their village. So
let's say, for instance, are you giving them something, or are you just verbally teaching them something?
No. There's going to be an allocation of resources and funds towards these places to make electricity, water filtration, and food production, and satellite communication.
So for you to able to do that, you still will have to go through the Nigerian government. You understand that?
Mm-hmm. Well, so for the time being, yes. But if you see already, you know, there's already
what's going to happen is, even though you're giving one aspect of Nigeria something, the rest of Nigeria is going to want themselves.
Mm-hmm. Right. So this is not
a conflict.
It's not exclusive for people who are Jews or not Jews. It's people who want to identify with the global Israelite movement.
I understand that.
But at the same time,
what Nigeria does is sometimes, if you don't be careful, they will consume. Yeah, right. They will take in what they can get from you. But what I'm trying to say is, the government, as it is led by what we call the Hausas and partly Fulanis, which the Fulanis, the Igbos, and the Yorubas have like their own little disputes. So you paying attention to one side, which the government is more Hausas, and the Hausas are going to look at that and say, hold on here. If you could do that for them, you need to bring it up to the north, like how they've got the pipeline of the oil from the south all the way up to the north.
Right. I do agree with what you're saying a little bit, but at the same time, if we look at current politics on the ground, we see the Igbo people, regardless of me or anyone, they're trying to go independent and become their own entity again.
But that will never happen.
It's you know.
I'm telling you this, Harry. That would never happen for the Igbo to go independent. It will never happen. Reason being is that is the source of the oil. The Northerners will never let that happen. This is why you had the Biafran War, and this is why they got massacred.
Right.
So I mean, that war will happen again.
So this is wars based on, you know, economies and renewable energies and stuff, which is part of what I spoke about at the debate, and suggesting is we should have to not even need oil to move forward in the world based on the technology we have right now.
but it's their major income of money resource. See, what the Northerners, they look at is whatever Nigeria has in as a form of that can bring in money, they take control of. They spend majority of the Nigerian money. They spread it around themselves. So if they see that the Igbos are making a certain amount, they're going to seize. This is how we have the civil war.
Right, right. I agree. I agree with all the points you're saying. Part of what we have to do in the future is make sure we don't need these things. Let the oil be. We got to go off the banking system that's being fueled by oil and going to wars for this oil. This has created nothing good for us. So we have to totally revamp the system. Technology is here to do that.
It's not going to be easy because you got to remember whoever's in government. Like as in we have, I'll give you an example. There was a party called PDP, which that party was the leading party, and because the last president was the leader of that party, they jumped ship to a new party, which the president of now, who's from the north, because they take turns. And if they don't like what they do, if they don't like what the people are doing, they're going to seize upon it. Whether it's oil, whether it's cocoa, whether it's peanuts, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's generating money, it's going to be taken.
Well, I think it's like this. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of politics of things in order to make that happen. And look, if it's about survival, you would have to go into guerrilla tactics in order to make it happen.
Exactly.
If there's something, but I'm saying that if the government is corrupt or if the government is unreasonable, then I'm sure that Harry would already have another plan B that maybe is just dealing with information. If you can't just give somebody the product, then you can show them how to do it for themselves.
Well, definitely you're right. There's definitely layers to this. So if you go onto our social network right now, we have 30-something villages mapped out. Right now, all it is people messaging each other, uploading, sharing, and connecting, which is the first phase of this whole thing. But I agree what you said. We're up against a great deal when we're talking about changing power structures and money flow in the world. But I'm optimistic, and I believe humans have the power to manifest change in the world. So I want to be a 90-year-old man, look back and high-five myself in the past for having put my effort out.
Yeah, as I said, it's not. We appreciate that, but it's just that Nigeria is so diverse. It's a very high mountain to climb, and like I always say to my people over there, is the only way that that's going to happen is if you get rid of the whole 40 and above.
They gotta get with the program. Yeah, yes sir. We have another question that's being asked. The question is, quote, is Harry going to debate the validity of the text and things like the Exodus, Menapata Stela, etc. with Polight? So again, if you were to have another discussion / debate with Polight, are you going to debate the validity of the text of things like the Exodus, the Menapata Stela, and those type of things? So what is your take on the Menapata Stela?
Was that an ancient Egyptian, scripture or hieroglyphics found?
Right, correct. It's one of the stones that's found, and it's proclaimed as one of the
where we see potentially that there was Israel.
We see Israel, right? Exactly. Yeah. What is your take on that?
I mean, I have two things. One is I live in a world where I don't have to justify the Exodus because we're like kind of in this continuation from it. Our narrative is alive and it's pulsating. It's breathing. So there's no point in my life where I have to justify if something did or didn't happen because of the direction we're moving in. But at the same time, I do have access to a lot of information which I believe can verify it, make it something that was a historical event, as well as show within the scriptures speaking about it that it couldn't possibly be written by the mind of a man. It had to have been some type of divine encoded information. That was part of my second round that never got revealed yet.
Harry, is that a roundabout way of saying that it's pseudo? It sounds like you're doing a dance machine. Watch them get down.
No,
are you trying to tell me that's real? Because it sounds to me like you're saying, look, I'm living in the reality of the Exodus. I don't have to look at a stone to try to validate what I'm going through. That's what it sounds like to me.
Well, that's where I was, but now that if this conversation's coming, I have no problem going there. And one thing about me, my MO, something people notice about me, I never talk in terms of mystical myths or metaphysics. I speak always concrete things that have to do, backed by science, math, and things that could be witnessed and observed. So when I'm going to speak about these things, I'm not going to say the angel came and said this, and that's how I know this. We're going to have to go into the core and show how its makeup and its build has integrity.
All right, Harry. So is that a yes or no? Is the Metapatah Stela, is it real? Or does it still have to be studied? What's your take on it?
Well, I think it should be studied because I don't know, who decided that these hieroglyphs, how they translated these words, if they had vested interests, etc., political reasons to translate them a certain way. And that's not just this one hieroglyph, that's all ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. How do we know what these things are actually talking about? That's a whole other question. It sounds interesting to me, but until today, this conversation, it wasn't enough that I had to go research it. But as far as the Exodus and the Torah goes, yeah, I could definitely go into there on a concrete conversation and show how these were accurate, historical events.
Okay, so that might be two parts of a topic that you'll be willing to explore in a debate with Polight. I mean, just to say, two talking points. That'll be down. Talking points.
Yeah. Let's set it up this week, and if not, I'm launching a course on this whole thing, on the narrative of Israel from start to end, all the purpose, the reasons, decoding it, where it's going, how are we going to get there, where do we see that, the full overhead view.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, make sure before you engage in that debate that you look up the Honor Rock Squad when we break down the Metapatah Stela, because we already debunked it. But, the Torah part, that's definitely a very good talking point. But, yeah, the Metapatah Stela, we engaged in that.
That's what I'm saying. I can't speak about things I'm not an expert at. You guys did the research on that. I can imagine that once we're taking ancient Egyptian words and trying to put our own political agendas into it, it's going to get fishy.
No doubt. So does anybody else have any questions at all for Harry? I'm going to make sure I check the other side, too, of the main board to see if anyone has questions for what was going on.
There is some questions coming in from the YouTube. Let me just quickly go back to it. We have Ruben. He says, ask Harry why black Israelites in prophecy not end up in Europe like the white ones.
I'm not sure what the question is exactly, because we see from the prophecy that the Israelites come back from Europe as well as from Africa. That's clearly in the scriptures. So I think when if you have someone who is a descendant of the slave trade, or someone who Thomas Jefferson had wives or whatever it was, whether it's fair or not, in 300, 400 years people can turn from dark to white. Now we're talking about 2,000 years. So I don't think that there's any basis to in the color thing.
Thank you. And the second question here is from Miss Yum69. Interesting name. Says, ask Harry why Jews hate Muslims when you are brothers through Abraham.
I mean, it's a strange name, but a great question. If you look at the history of Muslims and Jews, it was actually really amazing. They got along. They had diplomatic relationships. The Jews in Afghanistan, particularly, were treated excellent. The kings of Afghanistan were known to have given them extra, courage and help. Even today, the Arabs of Morocco guard and take care of the graves of the Jewish sages who used to live there. The relationships are great. I think things got a little fishy once you started having World War I and World War II heating up, and Arabs didn't. There was just this whole Zionism and the money and the wars, and Jews kind of got caught in that whole thing. But I do know, there is a little bit of the Quran that speaks about, what to do with the Jew when you find them hiding behind the rock. You got to kill them, etc. But Jews and Arabs, I agree, should have peace. I'm in Israel right now, and when you go out, you go to get your gas or a restaurant or someone to service someone in the street or your doctor, they're Arab. There's love. There's no difference. I think there's just politics.
Thank you. That's the questions from the YouTube.
I had a quick question on that. Go ahead. We were talking earlier about the politics, and I noticed that Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, they had a certain stance of the reparations topic, and it's always seen as okay to validate the reparations of Israel, of Jewish people, and a big impetus of that is what transpired within the slave trade, or not the slave trade, but the Holocaust. Um, the Japanese, they always get their validation of reparations for what they went through as far as the World War and the imprisonment. And then when it comes to the African, the reparations, Bernie Sanders was clear that he does not support reparations for African people. So why is it that you think that that's seen as different between Israel and Africans and the topic of reparations? Why do you think it's treated as different?
That's a good question. First of all, I'm not sure if Bernie Sanders is a Freemason or not. We got to get to the bottom of that because he can't have dual citizenship with this Freemason Jewish thing. Secondly, I think that you see that there was a tremendous fear amongst white people, slave owners in particular, about revolts or rebellions from their slaves. I was told that late at night, when the slave owner was sleeping, he could hear the slaves, banging on the walls from their slave cabins and shacks, and the white guy would be terrified. What would happen if these guys get out? What would they do to him? So I don't know if that side of the trauma, the white man's fear of, what happens when the African man realizes what just happened to him. So I don't know if that's the reason why America is not making this like the #1 political agenda. The Africans and the Native Americans, what we did to them, how they built the country, what do we do to them to make it fair? I think there's still an underlying fear, so I'm not sure.
But why would you think that it's on America to be so approving of the recognition of the Israel experience when America had done nothing but given troops, including black troops, in order to change the condition of the Israeli people? In other words, this was something that was inflicted by Germans. Americans didn't play a hand in the oppression of Jewish people. However, our tax dollars are used for reparations. Our
Right.
tax dollars of us working every day is paying for Jewish reparations, but however, we as African people, our money is not being invested to us who have been going through atrocities that all of these people have inflicted upon us. So are you feeling a connection with the African experience since you are willing to try to have this type of relationship with African Jews, with African Hebrews, with African people? Are you able to relate in any way, shape, or form to the experience of how much fury is within us as conscious African people on that disrespect?
Yeah, so when I explain it to Jews, I talk about reparations for the African, and they don't always get it. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, do you know almost every state's got a Holocaust museum, and how much money, America's given to Israel? It's almost shady. Like, why is that going on? There's got to be something happening. So I see it as a few different ways. One is I do know America benefits. They don't just give money without vested interests. So America has a lot of vested interests in Israel being an ally out there in the Middle East, where obviously all the oil is. We're to have such a powerful force. America gets back quantumly more from Israel in the form of technology, certain weaponry and systems in exchange. So America's not just giving money and walking away with it. They're getting a ton back. So I did see America has their vested interests. But if you look at it, like you see when the Balfour Declaration was made, it was the British who gave it over to the Rothschilds got that done, and it was, British were told, we'll bring America into the war if you give us this. It was a whole thing. So we see from the outset of Israel being given over to the Jewish people, there was already some strange stuff between different nations and agreements and terms. So I do think that being said, reparations for the African American should happen immediately. I don't think it should necessarily happen in the form of fake money that's not backed by gold, but in the form of land and decriminalized regions where they could have sovereignty without for-profit companies deciding what's legal and not legal for them to do, etc.
And before we go on to the other questions from some of the other panel guests on the link, what is your take on some of the scholars like Norman Finkelstein and his take on the Israeli-Palestinian perspective What is your take on Professor Norman Finkelstein?
Well, they say, there's a famous saying, two Jews, three opinions. So no matter what, you're going to have every type of Jew with every type of opinion, what should happen. Being on the ground, I could say they say 20 to 40% of the Palestinian people have Jewish roots who went through conversions to Islam over the past hundreds of years. I've personally had people tell me it's true. I've met family clans outside of Hebron who number 20, 30,000 people in their one clan who said they were all Jewish. I think that the issue is political. I think people who've weighed in on this, as far as said Norman Finkelstein, they don't get too much. No one gets too much attention because, like I said, two Jews, three opinions. So it's just going to be an opinion until there's going to be some solution for peace.
And what is your actual opinion on him and his stance on how he views things?
So what does he say? He says something about the politics of the Holocaust, and there was motivation from the.
He points out that both every family member on his mother's side and on his father's side were exterminated during the Holocaust, and it's only he and his siblings that are available alive today. So that's why he is more sensitive to the atrocities that take place on the Palestinians people, and he's trying to say that Jewish people need to understand that there's an injustice that's taking place on the atrocities that take place on the Palestinian people, and to use the Holocaust as the impetus or an excuse in order to justify the injustice on the Palestinian people is unforgivable, and something that Jewish people need to take into consideration, and it's something that they have to change.
Yeah, you know what I mean. There's no question there should never be a scenario of oppression of one human over another. It is interesting. You see already, 20 years before the Holocaust, there was already the Hebron massacre, where hundreds of Jews were brought out of their houses by Arabs and massacred in the streets and killed and destroyed. So this is this issue goes back of their relationship definitely pre-Holocaust. But he's right. There should be no possible scenario where there's being people oppressed. Now, the people who live in Israel, the Arabs were living, if you look at the map of Arab land around Israel and the place where Jews can live around Israel, it's outrageously dwarfed, and there's no Arab nation who wants to take these people in or deal with them. And the Arab people are very welcome to live in Israel in peace as long as they're okay with what's happening. You go to the mall in Israel and you see Arabs walking around shopping with their kids, and you go see they're driving cars and they're enjoying freedoms here more than they would be able to in any other country around Israel. So there's a part of the people who are able to adapt with what's happening in Israel and they're going with it, and there's a part of the people who are still living in jihad mentality.
Harry, don't do that.
I'm telling you, I'm on the.
Those are the Negro Palestinians. You know that those Palestinians be catching blows. Now there's an element on there where those Palestinians are blatantly getting their ass kicked daily. We both know that. But I would say, look, you've given your point of view of Professor Finkelstein, and I think that you also are accurate on some parts where some of the Palestinians don't get messed with, but it's far from a fairy tale. And a lot of the laws that are being inflicted upon the Palestinian people are not laws that they feel as if they are being robbed of an indigenous land that they are in right now. They're not even the actual indigenous people of that area either. But
that's 100% true. They came in from neighboring Arab countries. Well, some of them have Jewish roots, but some of them are just from Egypt and Jordan and Syria, Lebanon.
That is correct. But I think that you've given your point of view of how you see Professor Finkelstein, but don't give us the peaches and cream like Palestinians are so happy and kumbaya. That's not cool.
You're right. I wouldn't say Palestinians, but you do see Arabs functioning very highly in society here, as far as doctors, employees, and all. And we get along, but there is an issue where like you said, they're getting not beat up every day, but they're definitely not enjoying the freedom to travel as they'd like to, which insults their ego and their pride. And we know amongst Arab cultures, pride is everything. So when you take away their pride, you're messing with their ancient structure of community. The soldier, I know soldiers they have to deal with the fact that they could be stabbed or blown up at any moment. So they're
Right.
they're on guard. Their teeth are clenched and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm on the front lines right now.
That's very difficult. Yeah, it can be very volatile. That's a very
I
difficult
mean,
position.
it's difficult for both sides for sure, but as far as I'm concerned, my wife, when you got to go out to go grocery shopping, and you're in the supermarket, and there's an Arab guy who's cutting the meat for you, preparing the meat or the chicken, and so you're standing there ordering. He's got a knife cutting his thing, so she's
Right.
like, okay, we live our life day to day, but this guy could just decide to stab me, and it's not. It's something just to know that that's a reality is intense, because you see there's workers for regular companies who just sometimes flip off and they run over a bunch of people with the car, they get out, they stab a bunch of people, and then they know they're going to get shot and they die. So it's like they don't value their life necessarily, or they're not going to tolerate the situation of what's going on so much. But it's really intense on both sides, and we need a healing, that's for sure.
That's deep, and that's definitely a forthright answer. I appreciate that. We have some other guests that are actually coming in also. I see that we have let's see, we have Zion Lexx, we got Garfield, we got a few other people that are coming in. If you have any questions for the panel for Rabbi Harry, please feel free to ask the questions, and we'll be happy to avail them to you.
Well, you got the all-star team here.
Yeah, they got a whole lineup there and stuff. Hopefully nobody got laryngitis. So let's see if we got any other questions on the other side also. We can make sure we ask some questions of what's going on. But Garfield, how you doing tonight? I'm a raw squad up, brother Garfield. How you doing, bro? You might be off the line right now. Okay. So we got a nice little lineup that's going on. We have a lot
Hey,
of viewers.
peace. Brother Garfield here. Peace. Sorry about that, brother.
That's
My
right, brother
I
Garfield.
didn't realize
How you doing,
my
brother?
phone was
Yeah.
locked. Peace and blessings, man. I forgot there was a show tonight, and thanks to my brother that just told me that the show was on. This is a very important show to have. I just want to say peace and blessings. I'm in Ross Squad up, Team Osiris in the building. Peace, Zion Lexx. That's my brother out of Brooklyn, New York. What's popping, brother? You good?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
All right, cool. Peace to is that Virtue or somebody else? Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know who's on
it's a
here.
whole lineup.
Peace,
Yeah,
Terry.
it's a whole lineup,
Peace,
bro.
Terry, and everybody. Brother,
Yes.
let me ask a question to Harry real quick. Do you feel I did not watch the debate? I actually refused to watch it, and I didn't go. How did you feel you did in the debate?
I appreciate that question. I thought I redefined a certain level of, well, maybe I didn't come across the way I wanted to, but what I intended to do was redefine our understanding of God and our understanding of the world around us and how to apply those things to moving forward. So I thought I came with the realest thing you can come with, not periphery topics that deal with, metaphysical concepts, but the realest possible conversation possible. That's what I thought I was doing. It seemed that people, they said that it wasn't new to them, but as we discussed before, there just may have been a misunderstanding.
Oh, okay. I said this to you the first time we ever spoke. I asked you a question. I said, do you feel based on your experience with the quote unquote community that deals with the sonnetters and the debate and the polite, that type of audience, do you feel, and I asked you this I think probably a month and a half ago when I first had a conversation with you on Talk with the Titans, do you feel like you came with a message, and do you feel somebody else should be representing the message who's more familiar with the folks in this community other than you? Do you think you should be behind the scenes, or you should be the person up front putting the message out, or should you have a representative per se in here in North America?
Yeah, it's definitely a great question. I realized the hard way that no matter what I say, I'm coming in at a strong disadvantage because of preconceived notions of myself. But I do believe in, leading by example. So there's going to be a part of this where it's going to be discussion, and there's a part going to be action. So if I'm talking about decentralizing, part of it's not going to be having to convince people. It'll just be them watching communities around the world start to do it little by little and learning from it going on. And the nature of what I'm doing is not a top-down thing. I'm not saying I'm the Pharaoh, I'm the king of Israel, and here's how it's going to go. I'm saying let's all hold arms as equals and do X, Y, Z. So this should evolve out of being around me and more about what we're doing together. So yeah, I think it's good if I had someone amongst the other side of the community I could work with and trust on these things. But obviously, that person would get a lot of pressure from amongst his own community for collaborating with someone they view as a devil. So it's a real sticky line. But there are people who are who are open-minded, and it's going to take some time to build. But this has to evolve out of the one-man top-down structure that we're being pitched by people and work until we're all okay with X, Y, Z.
If nobody else has any questions, I mean, I have like 50 million questions, so somebody just jump in when they want. Cause
we ain't taking no damn 50 million questions. You ain't gonna be talking over. You ain't hijacking this show, bro. But
if nobody's gonna ask a question, I'll ask questions. I got tons of questions, bro.
I've got questions to ask. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Yes, sir. We hear you, bro. Yes, sir.
Peace to the brother Garfield. You know what, yeah? Garfield was literally one of my first contacts in New York when I arrived at New York, so I have to give him his big shout out. He was there. As soon as I arrived, he was on the battlefield getting it in. Oh my gosh. You know what? I've got tons of footage that I'm just, I've been so busy, but as soon as I get a chance, I'm releasing everything. I can't wait.
I gotta say something before you say. There's a brother out there, man. Zion, I don't know if you and Kashub the Danite are friends, but I have to say this. We have to stop putting out anti-African information and cover it like we're talking about Egypt, but like Egypt is separate than Africa. And I think if folks, they complain to me all the time in my inbox, Garfield, you're coming at the Hebrews, you only talk about it. That's all I specialize in. Yes, that's all I do. But if we're going to have folks on the other side talking, we have to step up our game and stop putting out information just because we don't like the other side per se, like it's a game. And I think the day before the debate, when I was at, when you saw me, I was going to go to that event at Nicholas Bookstore. And something just told me don't go. It was Hashar and Daniela and the other brother speaking about Synagogue of Satan. Who cares what they want to talk about? But when you start putting out information that's incorrect and with the whole anti-African stuff to it, it's going to be a problem. I'm going to do a show tomorrow, and I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to look at this video and show people we need to do better. We really need to do better with information putting out there, because you know what? As bad as black folks are, the first step for us is re-education. No matter how much money Garfield can have or anybody on the panel, that will not solve our issues if our mindset is just totally has to be done over. We have been, think about this for a second, guys. Most of us were taken from a place. They took away our name, our language, our folkways, our mores, our norms, our traditions. And now it's like every little silly thing we hear, we gravitate to it. We don't have nothing set course that we say, okay, this is our history and it's definite. Because guess what? We had historians before us and we ignored all their works. Now all of a sudden now the Amin-Ra squad has come and said, hey, let's deal with the scholarship of the great before us. People are paying attention to it. But we have ignored them. So this is why we still need to be re-educated. As far as Carter G. Woodson said, we were miseducated. So a lot of the things that's in the community has to do with education, and thank God for Aya Mayat, who is definitely doing something great for us as far as putting out a cartoon series to re-educate the children, because that's where you got to start. Because the folks who are older than I am, they're gone. They're not going to change. They're in their ways. So I just wanted to say that, man, as far as information, and brother putting out information the other day, I was very upset, but I'll do a show about it tomorrow, man. I'll talk about it tomorrow.
All right, no problem. I just wanted to reintroduce our brother Zion Lexx into the conversation. Greetings, peace, shalom to you, my brother. The tone of this conversation now is a bit much more mellow, and hopefully we can reflect and have a nice conversation.
Shalom, Kalam. I'm definitely feeling a lot better. I've always thought myself as a very real person. Real in that I'm unafraid to show my flaws. Um, Sometimes being a speaker, but as a public speaker, you're held to a higher standard than most. Most people get upset when people are blatantly lying about them. Most people get upset. And I'm definitely not most people. I get extremely upset. What moved me the most about Brother Polight is that Polight knows that the conscious community has not embraced me at all. Therefore, anything he says about me, they will always agree with it. He also knows that I upset the Hebrew community with my views on the New Testament. So he knows that every New Testament Hebrew, which they outnumber Old Testament Hebrews at least 3-1, he knows that number one, they're not going to support anything I say, basically. So he knows that he basically can say anything about me at this point and not really have to provide any genuine evidence. And what pissed me off again most is the blatant lie. You could call me a lot of things and I'll remain calm. You could say a lot of things and I'll remain calm. But when a grown man look another grown man in the eye and start lying, I have a real problem with that because, again, I come from a school where stuff like that is really not tolerated at all in the streets. And that is where I come from. And I'm never going to forget that part of my life because it made me who I am. And sometimes in anger, I may return to that mentality for a moment. I'm feeling much better. I'm in a better place. But the bottom line is I did get to speak to Sarnetta offline about this. And Sarnetta is actually going to be doing a video in about a day or two addressing this directly because it needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed that I was never given any money by Sarnetta, nor was I ever promised to be given money at any later date post-debate. I was offered $500 by Sarnetta to exit the debate because Polight didn't want to deal with me. As a result of Polight not wanting to deal with me, I was ready to say there's not going to be no debate. And Harry's on the phone, he can hear this. Harry said that he basically would be doing what Zion Lexx deems as proper, which kudos to Harry, I thought was humble on his part. Harry said, I'm with Lexx. If Lexx says that we're not doing the debate, then we're not doing the debate. So I said to Polight, listen, if I'm not involved in the debate, there ain't going to be no debate. So Polight got pissed, he started to yell, he started to carry on. The phone hung up, they called me back. Sarnetta got me on the line, and he said, listen, man, Polight just doesn't deal with you. He has his reasons, and for the most part, Sarnetta said, I can agree with him that I think that right now, you and him is probably not the best debate. Like, we want to focus on the rabbi. So how about, I'll give you $500 and you come out. And I said, no. But I said, I'll tell you what I will do. I'll gracefully and humbly bow out. I'm not going to chase a man for a debate. So if the man does not want to debate me, I'm not going to spoil it for Harry. I'll let Harry debate him, and I don't have anything to do with it. So that's what was the case. I didn't show up to the debate also because I felt like, why show up? And the man didn't even want me to debate. So I personally said that I wasn't going to show up to that debate as a result. So again, that's what pissed me off. And the thing about Polight, again, that a lot of people, I guess, are just slow or too slow to realize is this. You see, the more confusion you create, the greater the illusion you can produce. Let me say it again. The more confusion you can create, the greater the illusion. In other words, how does a magician produce a magic trick? It's nothing that he's actually doing that's exoteric or mystical. He's doing things to confuse the thought process. Because once you succeed in confusing a person's thought process, what you do is you actually... Can somebody mute their mic? Can somebody mute their mic?
It's muted. It's muted.
Okay. So what does a magician do? A magician is not doing anything that's mystical. He's not doing hocus pocus. All a magician does is he relies on creating confusion. Because a magician knows if he creates just enough confusion, he can produce any illusion. So the idea for Polight now is, I can't deal with Zion Lexx in the intellectual arena, so here's how I'll deal with him. I'll assassinate his character.
He already is not considered an honest person by the people. So guess what? I'm going to say Sarnetta did give him the money that Sarnetta said he didn't give him. You hear that? Polight said in that interview that I received something to be quiet. He said that. So let's go on his words for a second without relying on my words. Polight literally said in that video, he cannot respect me as a God-fearing man because any man that received, in the past tense, something to hush is not a man of God. So what is insinuated in that video is that I received something, either monetarily or by some other means. And most people, I know it wasn't just me, interpreted it that Zion Lexx was paid to come out of the debate. That is a blatant lie. Sarnetta cleared the air on that tonight. He says Zion Lexx didn't receive any money, nor was it ever promised that I was going to receive any money. That's what needed to be highlighted. That's what myself and Sarnetta spoke with offline just minutes ago, that there's going to be a show done on that, because that has to be addressed. Again, you don't have to like Zion Lexx, but what you should not do as a person who is held to a high standard is have to stoop so low as to lie on another man so as to evade the point of addressing the issue that people really are asking. When are you going to step in the ring with that man? Nobody cared about anything else that was said with regard to Zion and Polight. Polight, the question is, when are you going to step in the ring with him? You have already went on camera and said that when it comes to the Hebrew community, Zion is one of the most smartest in that community. He's one of the most brilliant. I have at least 4 or 5 videos on my YouTube page as well as my Facebook page right now with Polight using those same words. Yet, he boasts about sitting down with somebody like Tazaria, somebody who we all know is not Polight's intellectual equal. He'll boast about sitting down with people who really don't amount to anything at the end of the day. But the one person he refuses to face is me. Then he'll bring up statements like, okay, every time I'm supposed to meet with Zion, he's not there. So let's address the issue while the rabbi is on the line. Sarnetta called myself and Rabbi Harry Rozenberg to say that Polight was coming in from California and he wanted to have a sit down with the rabbi. They didn't ask me to be there. I volunteered to come. I wasn't supposed to be there. And Harry's on the line. He can stop me if I'm wrong. I wasn't supposed to be at that sit down. I volunteered. I told Harry I would come and I would be there. They called early that day at the last minute to say that instead of us meeting up at 3:30 p.m., we were now going to be meeting up after 8. Mind you, people, Zion Lexx actually has a job. I work. I was willing to sacrifice the first 2-3 hours between 3 and maybe at most 7 o'clock. I'm not going to lose hours on my job to sit there with Polight. I'm just not going to do that. So they rescheduled the time frame that we were actually supposed to be there, and that's the only reason why I didn't make it. But, I mean, Polight still was in town another 2-3 days. We could have met up. Nobody asked me to come back out. So, I mean, again, the real question is whether or not Polight is willing to face Zion Lexx in the intellectual arena. Is Zion Lexx volatile when he get ready? Yeah, because I'm a human being. If you push me, I damn sure going to put a little bit more pressure when I push back at you. That's always been my personality. Anybody that personally knows me can tell you that about me. I could be intellectual with you and I could be very street with you, but it depends upon the energy that you've given. So if you're giving me that street energy, I'm going to give you that street energy. If you're giving me intellectual energy, I'm going to give you that intellectual energy. That's why my spirit sucked when I sat down with Seti. Seti's a very aggressive individual. I respect his contribution. I don't respect his scholarship. But because he's a very aggressive individual, it put me out of spirit. It created an aggression in me. What I should have been able to do that I didn't do that day was show more scholarship, show more of an ability to trade words and just really prove that everything he said was just so utterly nonsensical. But I won't lie. I actually came in there that day bent on showing the conscious community that the individual y'all call a general actually ain't a general. And like I have said numerous times in several videos, you don't have to take my word for it. You can ask Brother Red Pill, who was there in the room that day. You can call Sarnetta and ask him, why hasn't he released part 2 to that footage that day? So let's be real. Let's be honest. Call me whatever you want to call me, but you're not going to call me a liar, and you're not going to call me fake without being able to prove so. If Seti did everything that y'all said he did, Sarnetta surely would have released that video, because we all know Seti I mean, we all know Sonetta wants to see the Kemetic scholars on top. He wants to see them win. So trust and believe, if there was anything in that second video that would have shown me on any weakness, surely that video would have been shown. So I think the question to the conscious community is whether or not Sonetta should be asked to release that video, which I think he should release that video because it would honestly show everything that happened that day. It may not be great for setting stage, but it would be great for Sonetta showing that he's. Now again, when it comes to the fight, the brother was extremely disrespectful in that he's telling a lie. He knows that I never received any money, yet he's on video insinuating it. Then y'all allow him to come on camera or on interview today and allow him to say, yeah, well, I don't really know if he received it or not. But a couple days ago, y'all accepted him saying that I actually did. But he can now get on camera and tell y'all that he don't know whether I did or not at that time, but he thinks that maybe I could have got it at a later time. So that means at the end of the day, and I just have to be blunt and just say it for what it is, dick riders going to be dick riders. And that's just me being real in the moment right now. I don't really care about being politically correct right now. I care about being absolutely real. So I'm going to emphasize it and say it again. Dick riders are going to be dick riders. There's going to be people that will blatantly see Polight violate their own community and still follow him because he was seen as having the upper hand against a white man in debate. So y'all going to use the debate with Harry Rozenberg to forget about everything everything that Polight did recently. You're going to use Polight's so-called win over the rabbi to forget the fact that the youngest phenom in your community, I believe his name is Young Pharaoh on the come-up, used this event with Harry Rozenberg to make you forget that a brother who's held to a very high conscious estate actually swindled one of your up-and-coming stars who had to actually come out and make a video to do it. Pharaoh wanted to do that? You think that he really needed or felt that he needed to make a video dissing somebody that he once looked up to? Or did he do that because he was so let down by the very same person that he was
Brother Lexx, I think you have so many issues Polight on a personal level that it's clouding.
Let me finish my point first of all, because I allowed you to speak and I didn't cut you off. So let me finish my point.
You actually haven't allowed me to speak, so please allow me to. All right, yes, sir.
Let me finish my point, my brother, because I still was speaking, and I sat and I heard you speak almost 20 minutes straight, and I didn't interject. So allow me to finish my thoughts.
Go ahead, bro. You're right.
Thank you very much. And yes, to touch on what you said, I will make it clear. You absolutely right that it seems that my problem with Polight is personal. It is absolutely personal. It's always going to be personal for a conscious man, what I consider myself to be. When I watch a man who purports himself to be conscious, uses unconsciousness in the very community that he's purporting to introduce consciousness into. How does a man state that he's conscious, yet he's swindling his people? And because he's perceived as winning debates, y'all seem to forget what's going on behind the scenes, that he's fucking your community over. But the fact that he's winning debates, so-called, we're willing to let him slide. Steady already went on record to say that all that status correction shit is bullshit, and the people that's doing
Zion, real quickly, please, no profanity.
My apologies. I thought that you said that you were going to allow it because you liked it in the air.
Yeah, that was last show. I said that. This show, before we started, I said, no profanity, follow all the rules, and anybody who does break the rules will be evicted straight away, which we did had right at the beginning. So please keep the profanity down. But continue.
Okay, well, no problem. Well, first and foremost, I'm not known to speak like this. I only felt free because last show you said it, and I didn't hear where you introduced it in the new show that you didn't want to. So my apologies. I got the link late. Remember, you didn't send me the link when it started. You sending me a little late, so I apologize.
Definitely. I know. Definitely.
Apologize. All right. So let me just make this clear though to Brother Ishmael, because I heard him speak and address Brother Harry with, I would want to call fair questions, and I don't really feel that way, but I'm being objective for a second. Ishmael addressed Harry with quote-unquote fair questions that he felt should have been asked based on Harry's interaction with the community and in particular in the debate. But not at one time did the brother call into question anything that Polight did recently, either prior to the debate or during the debate. He didn't question any of those things, knowing that some of the people in the community themselves questioned it. But yet the perceived leaders, of which Ish is not, some of the perceived leaders in the conscious community have questioned some of these things, but most of them are doing the questioning behind scenes, but nobody's coming on the forefront to call to question these individuals. And to me, I can't respect that. To me, that's extremely fake, because y'all all know that this guy is full of it. Yet you allow him to do it because of your camaraderie with him, and also because of the bottom line is I think you have a lot of, and I guess I can't say the word, but I guess you could revisit what I said earlier. You got a lot of DRs in the community. That's the bottom line. And Ish, no disrespect to you, but you sound like one of them.
All right, you done? You done?
Go ahead, Ish.
Okay, because I mean, the only one who's really, DRing and having his name all in your mouth like that is yourself. But that's besides the point. What I'm saying is this, bro. We did a 2.5, almost 3-hour show with Polight, answering any questions that was dealing with the business dealings. He stayed on the show for the full 2.5 hours, answered any questions that anyone had. We had call-in people asking questions about the business practices. We opened it up for Amira Squad and Polight to answer any of the questions. He brought in one of his assistants with him. They answered any questions that the people had concerning that particular topic just prior to the debate. We did that because the community had questions and we had access. He came in and cordially answered every single question. No rules were off the table. Anybody could ask any questions that they had, and they did. It's available for anybody to view, and we definitely opened it up for anybody to ask those questions. And like I said, people called in for that. Number two, my point is this. It just seems as if your personal feelings and hatred that you have for him, it's clouding to the point of nauseum of you already making your particular point. You have a point of what you wanted to make last show. You had a point that you wanted to make this show. We listened to both of those. We had a different vibe this show than we had the last show. So we're just trying to say, brother, just let it go. Not let it go as in forget it, but understand the fact that we're going to respect the fact that you have an upcoming show that you have with Sarnetta that's going to be addressing that particular situation. But bro, you cleared your name on that last show and you're clearing your name this show, but it becomes past obsession and it's not even necessary. I had already said the last show that we have love for you, but you were out of order with bringing up that man's family in the way that you did. That was completely out of order and not even necessary.
I want to make this brother Ish.
All I'm trying to say is I understand that we all can get upset and we all say things out of pocket, but the way that you went at his family like that, that was crossing the line, and I would hope that you have been forthright in the past of coming forward to say, you know what, I stand corrected for saying X, Y, and Z. You've been a forthright and a man in doing that. I would hope that when cooler heads prevail, that you would then come to the same conclusion of saying, you know what, I was caught up in the heat, the spirit got the best of me, and I should not have said that because that was something that you really should not have said, brother. That's really all that I wanted to emphasize.
Brother Ish, let me address that really quick, and I wanna do this for you. I'm not speaking to the community. I'm speaking to you. I'm no yes man. I always speak. I'm not no filter, so I'm speaking directly to you right now.
Yes, sir.
What you're saying is absolutely right. What you're saying is absolutely right. That was uncalled for. Me talking about his family. It was totally for him. But the bottom line is his lying blatantly about me was totally uncalled for, and I took that personal. And in the past, there was somebody on YouTube when me and Polight was going at each other for Kemet on trial. There was somebody on YouTube talking about my family, and they kept on bigging up Polight. So I called Sarnetta directly, and I'm like, yo, why Polight got people on here talking about my family? Don't you know that they had that part edited out the video? Because Polight said that he doesn't believe that that person knew what they were doing, although he does know them. He doesn't believe that they knew what they were doing. So he wants me to excuse that, and he apologized for that. But that was edited out the video that somebody family. Mind you, this is a person that said, yo, we ain't going to talk about family. So I've never actually talked about the brother's family until tonight. And what I said initially I absolutely meant it in terms of the love that I would show for his family. But to me, when a man does certain things, all bets and all rules is off. And I don't expect any man to agree with me on that. I'm my own man, and I will be judged for my own actions. I believe in answer to a power which I believe is different than what most people respect to begin with. So I'm different, and I don't expect you to agree with me at all. But I'm going to tell you this. If you violate or disrespect me, all bets is off. That's just my personality. It don't make me big, it don't make me tough, but it does make me me. That's who I am. If you disrespect and violate me, all bets is off. So yeah, I took a low blow because I felt the brother was being extremely disrespectful by literally making a story up that even Sarnetta, who was on the phone at the time, knew was untrue. But what is he going to do? Call his brother a liar live on air? Somebody that helps to bring him money? I mean, you got to really think about shit like that. So my apologies for the word shit. So Sonnet is actually, again, going to be doing a show in the next 2 days so that I can be able to claim my name because it's very important. A good name goes a long way. And when I say good name, I don't mean for the conscious community because I could give a goddamn what the conscious community think about me. I existed as a teacher in my community way prior before I was introduced to the conscious community. So I don't really care about the conscious community's position about me, nor do I really care about their respect level for me. I really have a message for my people that I was allowed to share on this platform. But at the end of the day, I don't really give a goddamn about how the conscious community feel about me, and I don't really care if it sounds arrogant either, because again, I'm me, and I'm being honest.
Thank you. Thank you, Zion Lex, for that. Now, I'm going to open up the mic. You know, I love, you know, let me just put this out there. I actually love the fact that Zion Lex is definitely a stand-up gentleman in the fact that he has the, you know, the ability to come back online to actually admit when he's wrong. You know, and he has no problems in doing that and actually, you know, issuing out apologies or stating his reasons for doing what he does. And I think, you know, a lot of us can learn, you know, personally, I do actually believe that a lot of us can learn from instances like this. You know, sometimes we get hot off the handle and we blow up and we, you know, something like this can happen. But instead of actually holding grudges or, you know, feeling slighted or being slighted, you know, we can actually come back in a room as brothers and you know what, kind of settle the air that is looming. So I appreciate you, brother Zion Lex, for doing that. Thank you. You know what, I'm going to allow you lot to continue. Please, anybody else who's got questions, please continue. It's 4 o'clock over here in the UK. I'm pretty sure it's like 6 a.m. Where the rabbi is. And if I'm waffling a little bit, please realize I've been up, you know, for God knows how long, and I've only had like 4 hours sleep this morning. So please forgive me if I am rambling. So continue, guys. The floor is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. So if they have any questions about the debate of what transpired, again, maybe looking at it from third eyes, maybe somebody who saw it on the video, and you know, some of the things they took away. I know there were some gaps in the actual video itself. I want to thank Kalam for stepping up and assisting Harry with some of the live feeds on that too. That was very instrumental because we were having some technical issues from the main feed. So we want to thank Titans TV for filling in on some of that stuff, of some of the content to make sure we were able to get the most information that was available. But if anybody has like any kind of, you know, some things you took away, some positive things that you took away from the debate, or maybe some things that can be enhanced for round 2. You know, is that something that the public would like to see, to be able to go deeper into some key topics? Maybe that's some things that could be very, you know, beneficial.
Yeah, I would. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, brother Garfield. Go ahead, brother.
For the debates, I would love to see more, a more, I don't know, more. I don't want to say more organized, because that's obviously a problem, organization. But as far as the information, how we set up the debates for future debates. I mean, we need to set up like a methodology, if I may, for how to, you know, put the debates together as far as putting out information. You know, how do we decide, should there be judges there? Should there be judges to say who won the debate? Should there be like a 15 15 different type of steps that we take to make sure that questions are being answered properly, or what methodology should we use while we're in the debate so that it's clear to the people that's listening?
Before you go on to your next point, Garfield, that's a good question to ask Harry as a participant and co-person of the debate itself. Harry, do you feel like it would have been beneficial if you would have had like a live judge or a more active moderator or somebody, or like a group, like a panel group of people that could kind of control the flow of information or the way that the information being delivered? Do you think that would have been beneficial within the context of a live debate, Harry?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the first thing for a live debate is the topics and the nature of how the rounds get broken out must be disseminated more than a week before the debate, as was in my case. Even a few months or a month even of preparation, so people can come in there exactly knowing what's about to happen. And then there definitely needs to be, an addressing of what the other person said, and a man who's familiar with the subjects moderating it, not just someone who's, the brother Smack. I learned about him. He looks like one of the coolest guys out there, that's for sure. But I don't know how much he knew about the subject at hand. I'm speculating. I don't know what he knew. But the moderator should be very versed in the topic so he can, go back and forth and weave. I'm hoping to get another debate with Brother Polight where it doesn't have to be on stage like that. It could just be me, him, people listening, and a moderator where we could just go information head on head. But yeah, the organization point's dead on, and that's for sure something we're going to need.
Now you do realize you getting that information. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kalam. It's your show.
Real quickly-ish. Yeah, I actually would like to let you lot know as well. I've actually been investing in a lot of technology as of lately. You know what? Furthermore, I need to set up a GoFundMe account because a lot of money just coming out of my account to actually bring the community some interesting things. But actually, I've invested in some technology whereby we can actually host some online debates, because I know that a lot of you lot have been requesting. You know what, you lot want to actually debate certain people. Well, I've heard it from the American community that you would love to debate certain individuals that appear in our Speakers Corner playlist, and even certain individuals from the Speakers Corner playlist would love to actually debate the American side as well. And quite recently, I've been getting quite a lot of atheists after watching the debate with Unc and the White Atheist, and theists have contacted me to actually get involved with some debates. So pretty soon, I'm actually gonna roll out a test run. The test run is going to be debates where we're going to actually, fashion it in proper academia style. We have different rounds and so forth, and rebuttals, etc. But yeah, basically, it's going to have like a 2 split screen where we can split it. One person, the 2 different combatants going back and forth, where you can pull up your information on the screen as well. So when you see it, you're going to look at it and you're going to be like, wow, this is an actual proper broadcasting system that's actually in play. So I've invested quite a lot of money in this, so soon it's going to be rolling out, and I hope some of you lot would love to actually join in on and actually be involved with the debates. But anyway, yeah, back to you lot.
Yeah, I think that's dope. That's definitely be a good thing to invest in, and just using technology for the betterment of the information. I was going to say, Harry, actually, you're a bit ahead of the game. Most of the debates that we have, we don't share information with each other. We do it off the cuff, like, yo, just show up. And as soon as you show up, son, then I'll show you what I got. Like, so for you to even get the information a day, a week, heavens, a month ahead of time, that's actually an improvement. Like I said, this is not Robert's rules at all. So it's not unheard of to be ambushed. Like when we had to go against the Hebrews even said you weren't allowed to use the internet. So not only were not only were we not allowed to know what the Hebrews are going to present to us, they put it in the rules that we were not allowed to use the internet to live time defend ourselves or to present. That was in the rules of the quote-unquote trial. And we still beat the charge. We beat the charge and crushed the Hebrews. But that's how deep it gets with how we deal with our information. It's very much on the cuff, and if you're a rapper, you got to have a lot of freestyle ability. So that's just how we get down. So I just want to let you know you were actually ahead of the game, Harry.
I appreciate letting me know that. It's a whole new perspective for me.
Yeah, you got that
right. Gonna be some straight up know what everybody got thing. Hell no.
Hey, Harry. Would you be interested in debating another person who shares the same religious God as you? Because a lot of folks are saying that you should have debated somebody, a black Hebrew instead of Polight. Would you be open for debating any person who, who's definitely going to call you the devil in your face and rah rah all night? But I mean, would you be up for such a debate?
Yeah, I would have no problem. It would be very difficult to put someone in the room with me who's going to try to use the English, Latin, Greek translation of the Torah to prove any point of theirs, because it's all going to come down to it's their own speculation based on their understanding of a broken telephone. So if you have someone from sharing the same God but also studying the Torah in Hebrew like Zion Lexx does, then I'd be more than willing to get into the conversation.
Let me do a follow-up question based on what you just said. That's very interesting. So you feel if someone is coming with a version of the Bible that's not Hebrew, it shouldn't be acceptable. But isn't it the fact that we basically working all off guesswork because we don't have any primary text?
Right. So with we can't, from me being a Jewish person, we can't take anyone who's using English translation from the church serious as far as their scholarship of the text itself, because there's so many manipulations, so many different versions. You know how many hundreds of thousands of different versions are out there. So how could it be the word of God?
But let me
we need him. Been saying it for the last 10 years. You're in English and you're mad. Oh, all right, let me shut up, man. Been saying that forever. Lord have mercy. Let me blink out. Go ahead.
But that doesn't mean that these people may not be Hebrews.
It's funny. Harry said that because a friend. What am
in English, King James.
All right. Y'all keep it cordial, keep it organized.
Yeah, I will.
This is so funny to be right.
All right, so you're open to that. That's all right. That's all right. So you're open if the person is able to speak. Well, there's a couple people out here has the the Hebrew, but I don't think they want it.
With the Jewish people, we don't see a verse in prophecy and then we say what we think it means. There's a transmission that we trace back to the prophets themselves of how we understand these prophecies. So if a Jew comes up and starts saying what he thinks it's talking about, and the rest of the community didn't hear that from their father, they're going to call him pseudo. They're going to say, you just made this up because we didn't hear this from the previous generation. So it's an uninterrupted transmission.
Did the rabbi just say pseudo? It's over.
Harry know that's no pseudo, man. I ain't trying to hear that, man. Unc, you had a question, Unc? You had a question, bro?
Nah. I'm just laughing because I always knew it. I always understood that, man. Like, come on, man, stop it. They need to learn Hebrew, man, and really get it. That's funny to me, though, Ish. You know it's funny to me. I can't help it, yo.
That should be hella funny, for real. So how long does it take to learn the Hebrew, say have a basic working language? I know Zion Lexx learned Hebrew at a younger age, and he kind of came up in that particular culture of being able to understand it. But how long does it take to get a working level of Hebrew?
So I actually grew up going to public school where I was going to Hebrew school once or twice a week, but I didn't pay attention. So I didn't really start learning. I knew the alphabet, but I didn't really start learning Hebrew until I was 12, 13 years old. And I had a tutor after school to learn Hebrew. And it took me a few years to, just like you go get a bachelor's degree in college, a degree of 2 to 4 years, you can get a good proficiency of something. So you spend 2 to 4 years already, you can have a good understanding. You give it 10 years, you could be a master.
Okay.
I mean, the Torah is deep. It's a lot to learn.
we're nearing the end of our show. So if you've got any last dying questions, please ask them now. But as it stands, it's like 4:30, come up to 4:30 in the morning over here, 6:30 a.m. in Israel, and I believe it may just be 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time where you guys are in the U.S. or New York. So please round it up, round it up. I think secretly Harry is, a member of Amun Ra Squad scholarship Facebook group. I actually do think so. I think he does. He's in there and he's following and he's up to date with all the terminology, and he actually appreciates the Amun Ra Squad scholarship.
I don't know. We don't let white people on Amun Ra Squad scholarship, so you might have a black profile or something.
A black profile? We're very Jewish with our ways when it comes to that.
No doubt.
Crazy.
I want to thank you. Before I go, I just wanted to say I want to thank you, Kalam, for allowing me to assist in any capacity. I think you do a wonderful show here on Titans TV. Aside from what you do professionally, I want to thank you for the way that you conduct yourself as a man. You're a human being that I hold in very high regard. I want to thank you for the examples of what you set in such a very polished and professional way. So I want to thank you. I want to thank your viewers. You always have a good amount of viewers who are always very enlightened, and they come with a very positive spirit. Even the ones who can be very challenging in the chat room, they're actually very intelligent people. So I want to thank you for opening up the Amun Ra Squad family to the international brand. I think you do a wonderful job, and I definitely want to personally thank you and say peace and blessings to each and every one of y'all.
Wow, thank you. Absolutely humbled by that. Thank you very much. And I think I need to get you. I need to get you back on the show again whenever I'm tired. Whenever I need my co-host to take over. Listen, the job is there for you.
We need to do an event around it.
Hey, you know what though? Ishmael took that class though, the class to stools and how to deal with people. He got an A+ in that. So
Definitely.
But and by the way, this guy Kalam is kind of fronting with this picture that he has, because he's like 8 feet tall. A lot of people don't know this. He's like 8 feet tall.
That shit was crazy, man. Watch what you
Yo,
talking about.
I saw him come up to Ank. I'm like, Ank is 6'2". This dude is like 8 feet tall. There's no way. You up there with what's his name? That Moorish guy. You tall as Abba.
Oh, Lord Abba Dabba. Lord Abba Dabba.
You up there. You up there with him, man. Oh my God.
Yeah, he's a little bit taller, man. All right, well. All right. At the end of the day, Harry, we don't believe your Torah is real.
All right, you guys know I'm not backing off. I'm here to have that conversation. I'm a stand-up guy. I'm let's do it.
Yeah,
all
you
right.
ain't name on that show yet. I'll see where
you know what, man? We going. You need to have Harry on a special hangout, man, where we just
Harry, be
have
safe.
Harry on.
Here where it's safe at.
Harry on with Jowl, man.
Play. He don't go to scholars at all. Where the Meta-Nature scholars at, where the more science history scholars at, where the archaeology. He don't deal with that, boy.
Well, I'm going to close this show out, and you know what? We can have the after show discussions as usual. So you know what? I'm signing out. This is big.
Hey, Kalam, one thing. Just one thing. Hey, Harry, do you feel like you won or lost? And I'm going to tell you how I feel. Yes or no?
That's a great question. I felt like if Brother Polight didn't walk out of the room agreeing with me, he's going to have to be held accountable for his views on reality.
If he didn't do what?
Walking out of that room agreeing with everything I said, then he's going to have to be accountable for his views on reality.
Spoke this out. All right, man. Hey, the champ, kind of put that work on you, man. You know, I got to come back, Maybe they'll do the Pacquiao overdue or something, man. That's the champ in there, man. Went up against the champ.
All right, so who's going to sign out for me? I'm going to give that. Who wants to?
No. Polight came in there with the sweat. You know how boxers come in the ring with the sweat? Look, Harry came in there dry with his police. I said, man, are you sitting down on the job, man? Get up off my chair, man.
All right, I've got to sign out. I've got to sign out because I know I'm not going to bed till about 7 o'clock this morning. And if I don't close out now, I never will. So you know what? This has been Talk with the Titans. We've had our brother Harry Rozenberg on, you know, and we had our squad leading the actual interview today. So this is absolutely wonderful. Hopefully we can have more shows like this, more shows that we are all in harmony and we're all in unison. And at the end of the day, that's all we need. You know, we all need to work together and overcome our differences and let our differences help us to actually succeed as a unit. So anyway, I'm signing out. This has been Kalam L, and you've been watching Talk with the Titans. Peace.